Yep, it is time. Here we go. Welcome, everyone. I'm Dan McDermott. This is Google Plus Week. Good to have you with us. Let's introduce our panel. Alan Firstenberg. Alan, welcome, sir.
Hey, Dan. Good to be here as always.
Want to let you know, Alan, you're suspended indefinitely, or 1 week, whichever comes earlier.
Oh, darn.
Oh, dear. Now you'll have
Is
lots
that
of time.
A threat? Okay, I guess I'm suspended. Bye, Dan.
No. Hey, you know, I saw, I was looking at the reviews of your help outs because someone asked, and you have a 5-star rating. Congratulations.
I have a 5-star rating. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll get Sreek or someone to troll your rating. And Michael Banks joins us from Augusta, Georgia. Welcome, Michael.
What's happening?
How are things in Augusta?
Started to get chilly because it's been like 80 degrees the past few days, so it started getting chilly around Christmas.
What's chilly in Augusta?
I think it's in like, what, low 50s?
Yeah, we were 50 today. We'll be 55 and sunny tomorrow. So I got a good walk in the park. I'm ready to go. My adrenaline's going. Grr. Hope Craig or Sreek comes in here and I can just go crazy. In Menifee, California, Pam joins us. Pam, welcome.
Hi, Dan. Hi, everyone.
Pam will be in rare form in about an hour and a half.
Not that long.
Okay, so what brand is it tonight?
It's Coronado Brewing Company's Idiot IPA.
Idiot IPA. Because it's
going to turn me into an idiot in about 45 minutes.
You just teed that up for me. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So our first topic here is Google has filed a countersuit against Rockstar, ostensibly to avoid East Texas. So the background on this is Rockstar Consortium is a group of companies led by Microsoft, or led by Apple, and also including Microsoft and BlackBerry, and I think Sony, which surprised me, and others, to buy Nortel's patent portfolio. Nortel's a Canadian company that I guess went out of business, bankrupt or whatever. And so they immediately set up a company in East Texas, which apparently is friendly, I guess, to their view on patent law. And this company is seeking to recoup their $4.5 billion investment. I think Apple put up like 2-point-something billion of that. So obviously I think over half the money came from Apple. And basically they're trying to screw anybody who has anything to do with Android. So now Google has filed a countersuit in California against Rockstar to have the patents invalidated. And so I wanted to get, I guess, the folks on this would be Alan and Michael, hopefully, who know a little bit about this, because I'm not a rock star when it comes to these patents. But anyway, what are your thoughts, Alan? Do you think this is common that there's a countersuit filed to invalidate the patent? That's very common, but it is interesting that this was in California.
Well, it's not interesting. I mean, I think the East Texas court where these patents are usually filed is known to be very, very friendly to people who are seeking patent protection. So it's not too surprising that Google is kind of making this play to change the venue, presumably to some place that that they're hoping, I guess, will be more friendly. Will be more friendly to people who hate patents, or something. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure that this is a wise move. And I'm not entirely sure that they've got any merit in it, to be honest. But it'll be interesting to see what actually happens.
How do I get the thing off the top that has the add, mute mic, hang up?
Move your mouse away from it. If you start moving your mouse, it'll go away.
Okay, it's moved, but it's not working. Michael, do you have any thoughts on this?
I hate patent cases, and mainly if they're not like very major to like the foundation of Android, where something would have to be redone or they would have to pay per device, I don't really pay it any attention.
Okay, for anyone watching, I just clicked in the chat thing, or clicked out of it, and clicked in it and out of it, and it went away. Okay, so we'll see where this goes, because I agree. I mean, patents are, you know, if you write a book, you have a right to protect it, and if you legitimately create something, you know, you invent the light bulb, you have a period of years, you know, that otherwise you wouldn't spend all the money to invent the Keurig coffee cup if you couldn't recoup, you know, through ridiculously exorbitant K-cups for some period of time, and their patent recently went out. That's why you're seeing other companies with compatible with K-cup coffee things. But we'll see where this goes. But yeah, that's gotten out of hand. I agree. Okay, next up, Steve Grove, Google Plus is Google Plus and other thoughts. Alan, is this you or Pam? I'm not sure who put this one in.
Yeah.
It's not me.
No, it was me.
at work.
Yeah, this is basically an article that first appeared in. I'm trying to remember exactly where it first appeared. It first appeared in LiveMint, and an interview with Steve Grove, and it got picked up by just about everybody who chose different fragments of it to quote. I'm quoting a small part here where he kind of says, Google Plus is Google, you know, plus some. And, you know, for those of us who have been here, we remember people saying that 2 years ago. So it's not exactly news. But in light of people, you know, in light of the YouTube connection, in light of connecting it to other aspects, people are finally waking up and saying, oh, you mean Google Plus is part of Google, and so is everything else, as if, you know, this shouldn't have been news to them. But apparently it was. So he says a number of things. You know, one of his quotes, we've been consolidating the different services. So today, search, YouTube, the Google Play App Store, all this plugs into Google Plus. And the reason for that is that Google Plus is kind of like the next version of Google. And mobile is key to this. Exactly where he makes that segue, I don't know, but it's an interesting segue, I thought.
Yeah, I think you were in this show when it was still McDermott Report, right? And Blog Talk Radio, and when we first. Okay, so you remember, if you look back, one of the titles of one of the last McDermott reports before I created Google Plus Week, the title was, "Is Google Plus a Facebook killer?" Right? Because that's what everyone was speculating about. We all framed it in those terms. And I was just having this conversation with Craig Shipp today. Then,
well, and if you'll remember,
it's different. And they never said it was, but it was portrayed that way in the media.
They never said it was. And what I was saying at the time is that, yes, we're going to see Google Plus become the backbone for everything across Google's properties. And I think Sreek and I even had some debate about exactly what that was going to look like on various services. And I got a lot of them wrong, I will admit. But we see that happening, and we see that happening in different ways. And I think that's that's what Google had in mind all along. Wasn't to just create, this Facebook clone. It was to use the Facebook clone to make people realize that there was more to social than just sharing.
Okay. And we'll get into that because shortly, that aspect. Actually, it's our next topic. Any other thoughts on this Grove piece or comment?
Well, I do encourage people to take a look at it. If you've, everyone who watches this show regularly won't be surprised by what he talks about, but the way people are reacting to it is kind of shocking.
Well, I mean, the way the title is laid out, it is a gross title, saying Google Plus could do for live video what YouTube did for recorded video, which is totally left field.
Well, what do you think we're doing right now, Michael?
Like, where is this going? It's not going to Google Plus.
Sure it is.
Sure it's not.
Sure it is.
It's not.
Is so. Well, okay, it isn't because Dan's not using
Exactly.
a hangout on air. Well, actually, that's not true, is it?
Even that hangout on air gets saved
No,
on the
Michael,
back.
it is because we have it as an event.
No, but it's just linking to a YouTube video. Which
Is it just linking to that video, or is it coming up live there?
It's
It's
live in
coming
the
live to an
event.
iframe of a YouTube video.
What's the difference?
I know the difference. I mean, sure, a normal person won't really know the difference.
Well,
but
and that's the point. Is that a normal person won't know the difference?
I guess most people still almost all the comments are on YouTube.
All of our comments are, but if you talk to other people that are running live events, they get their comments in different places. In fact, we've gotten a lot of comments in the past. Last week, we had a lot of comments on the event itself.
Now we can't see those though, right?
We could last week because Gerwin knows what he's doing.
Are they showing up, or do I have to put something else in my tracker?
Well, it depends which tracker you're using.
I'm using the standalone web version for this.
I don't know if you've got it shared, but if you search on the hashtag GPW 2013-12-27, it should come up, and you should be seeing the comments that are showing up under those events.
So by putting that tracking code in the event, any comment, even if they don't add that hashtag in their comment, will still show up?
That's correct.
Oh, wow.
Like I said, because Gerwin knows what he's doing.
I'm glad someone does. Okay. Cool. Okay, so next up is this really interesting article from Mike Elgan. And I am and I'm not upset that Craig's not here, because we had
Aren't we all?
we had a knockdown drag out on this topic today. So this is Mike writes for a bunch of sources, and congratulations to Mike on his new gig, which is the news director for Twit. So we had a exchange today, and I invited him on, but he's doing family stuff and can't do it, but he's going to watch later. So I said that'll be more fun anyway, because then we can talk about him, right? And he can't defend himself. But I'm just kidding. And so let's look at this here. He's saying that Facebook, the premise is, will the Facebook bubble burst in 2014? Now that's granted a loaded title that sets up the premise that there's a Facebook bubble. And then he refers to something, a phenomenon. He said it's the most valuable social network on the planet, at least on the basis of a phenomenon called the network effect. Network effect products are those that derive their value from the number of people using them. The classic example is the telephone. If you were the only person with a phone, its value would be 0. If 99% of the population is connected, its value is so high that owning one is a requirement in order to participate in society and in the economy. Facebook's position as the leading social network is based on network effect. Now, I agree with that, and I would draw an analogy of Facebook to a mailbox. You've got to have a mailbox so the DMV can write you every year so that you can get your 1099 or other legal things, and then the rest of it is basically garbage. But you can't get rid of it. You got to have a mailing address. It's got to be a street address, or for your driver's license, etc. A lot of folks still cling to a landline phone, mainly older folks. They just can't get rid of that number. So that's the way I think of Facebook. I think of Facebook as the place, I've said before, Twitter is where I get my news. Facebook is where my sister tells me what time to show up for Thanksgiving dinner, and my mom tells me what time to show up for Christmas Eve, and Google Plus is where I meet people and have interesting conversations. And I go to Facebook because I have to once in a while to check on stuff. So Mike Elgan, let's talk about these. Let's go point by point. Number one, he says people don't like Facebook. I don't like Facebook, but I've got to go in. That's where people are. My mom's not coming to Google Plus. Neither's my dad, but they're both on Facebook. Number one, social groups collide. Teens and 20-somethings post messages with their friends. Then grandpa chimes in and wrecks the conversation by saying, "What the heck does WTF mean?" You post pictures of your drunken New Year's Eve antics and then later wonder how those pictures are affecting your promotion prospects at work. Social groups collide on Facebook, and the younger people hate that. I think that's I totally agree with that. By social, you might want to hang out with your quilting guild. You might want to hang out with the antique car people. You might want to hang out with other teenagers, with Duck Dynasty fans or whatever it is. And when all those are in the same room, it's awkward and not as sociable as when you're with your clique. So that is a problem. And Alan, or Pam, what do you think?
I completely agree with you. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. Add to that some of the other features that Facebook has introduced, like, you know, paying for your feed to go to the top, or censoring some of your friends lists posts, and, you know, all the ads on the side and stuff like that. I think that you know, Facebook's going to have to make some Google Plus like changes if they want to stay relevant.
Michael, what do you think? When a lot of folks were on MySpace, which was the purview of the young and musicians, largely. And you didn't see a lot of middle-aged and up folks on MySpace. And then Facebook displaced them for a number of reasons. And as the older folks, and everyone's gotten on there, basically everyone's got an account there. You can't delete it because that's how your old 8th grade buddy will find you. What do you think about this notion of there's too many people on there, and that's why folks are using it less?
Well, I actually agree with the title. I think Facebook is in a bubble. I view all the social networks as like empires back in the, you know, historic times where, I mean, some will rise and some will fall. I mean, just like MySpace was like the dominant social network, and that fell. And AOL had their clinches in the web a while ago, and that fell. So, I mean, I think Facebook is in a bubble. I don't think it's to the point where it's a phone. I mean, where it's like a mailbox right now. It could be there. I hope it does not. As far as the social groups, I agree that people use it to the point where now they're finding the point where everyone's on there. So, I mean, their jobs and their employers looking there. So, I mean, they really do want that line, distinct line, like church and state, sort of. And as far as the controls, I mean, the controls are there to use it to where you can be as social as you want to and have all the drunken pictures, but only share that with your friends. But, I mean, it's a pain to set that up, or a pain to use it each time you post, or what device you're using to post.
Yeah, but Michael, I think a lot of people still don't know about that. They still don't realize that those are there, and they're not taking advantage of it. And I would point out, by the way, that Mike Elgan appears to be watching tonight's show because he just reshared it.
Oh, cool. Okay, so we just, by the way, I just actually, okay, it says he's watching it. Let me let me pull up my feed here. We had a comment, a question here, and now I'll get back to the story. He said, any reaction to Mike Elgan being the new head of news at Twit? And I think I was surprised because he's great on Twit. He does the show a lot, and he's been on our program several times, and our Android show, which is on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. But I can't wait to see it, Alan, because, you know, it's interesting when he writes, he can really nail somebody. You know, he doesn't mince words. I mean, he can go for the jugular, right? And I love it. But when he's on camera, he is the most polite, quiet, unassuming, humble person you've ever met. Do you get that, Alan?
I think the big thing I always like about Mike is that he's tremendously insightful, and he gets right to the point.
No BS
on the issue. You know, and and he's blunt about how he feels. He doesn't beat around the bush. But and I'm not sure anything I've read of his has exactly been wrong.
I know that we hate him for that.
You know, he's insightful, he's direct, he's honest, and he's right.
Yeah.
How can you go wrong?
Right. I think it's
with that combination. Really.
I can't wait to see how he does. I can't picture him, you know, here's the day's news. You know what I mean? That's going to blow my mind. I can't wait to see it. And it's going to happen like in January. I think January 4th or something he starts. I guess he's going to anchor the TNT show, and then They're going to work on an evening news, but I think it's going to be shorter. And hope to get them on, even if it's not on this show. I want to do an interview with him at some point, and just talk to him about his plans. And we can do it, a couple weeks into it or something. How's it going? That kind of thing. Whatever's convenient for him. He's a busy guy, but I'm very excited to see. I can't wait to see how he does.
Yeah, but as for this article, I think the crucial part to Facebook and Facebook's problems really boil down to, in some sense, it's now gotten so popular that it's no longer trendy. And
now Craig would disagree with you. Craig would say nobody's on Google Plus. Google Plus sucks. Everybody's on Facebook.
We got that.
Yeah.
Now we've heard that a million times. So I just want to throw that out there. Yeah. Every week, but we hear that from him.
And that's true.
And based on what he shares.
But as Michael points out, as Mike points out, everybody is there because everybody else is there. It's trendy. It's everybody's there because everyone wants to be seen there. And when you start getting teenagers who aren't are looking to find their own trendy, and they don't think that the place where their parents and grandparents play Candy Crush Saga is trendy anymore, they're going to start looking somewhere else. It's not something that Mike actually mentioned, but I wonder how much of that is true. And I think the point that Michael brings up, they've got these privacy controls, but nobody seems to understand them or use them or like how they're implemented.
Let's go to number 2, which is along those lines. Number 2 and number 3. Number 2 is users are overwhelmed in an era of hyper-simplicity and minimalism. Facebook is a visual riot. On a single page, you can see the newsfeed, the ticker, left navigation bar packed with favorites, pages, groups, friends, apps, interests, the status update bar, birthdays, and advertising all over the place, including in the newsfeed. This connects with number 3, Facebook annoys. It's riddled with not only ads, but badly targeted ads. Sometimes it shows ads that you have endorsed or liked, when in fact you never did. It shows ads and lies about the fact that they're ads, calling them suggested posts. Facebook, they're not the only guilty party on that issue, because I could tell you, I've seen all kinds of stuff. BuzzFeed for a while was just, you couldn't tell. Literally, it was the same font, looked just like a store. You couldn't tell it was a sponsored post. Then they got beat up, and then now they say something.
Well, but a lot of places do that sort of thing.
Sure. It's it's native. Well, no, there's all different forms, and they're trying to figure out how to monetize it. And he's got shareholders now. He's got to do this.
And you can't blame them for that. The problem is when you do it in a way that starts insulting your users.
Stuff like the game notifications. I can't just say I don't want any game notifications. I can only cut them off one game at a time. So you'll send me a Bejeweled or whatever the hell, some crap. And I've got to click twice. I've got to click the X, and then I've got to say, yeah, I'm sure, click. And then Pam will send me one for, Rotten Chess or whatever. I don't even know what they are. And so I got to cut that game off.
Mafia Wars.
Right. Now, I can't just say, I don't give a damn. I've never played a Facebook game. I will never play a Facebook game. I have no interest.
They're fun.
And, well, I don't like spamming my friends, and I can't imagine all these people are on purpose doing it. So,
Right now, I think Facebook has gotten up to a point where they're so big, they're scared to innovate and change things on a major scale to solve these problems because they'll fail. Because right now, the only way I see Facebook not staying where it is now is if one, it does something totally stupid that pisses everyone off, which is already done, and along with that, it has to be something that comes out that also everyone else likes and catches on to at the right amount of time. It's all about timing, I think. And I think a major overhaul of Facebook would help it out on a usability standpoint, but I think they've gotten to a point where they have so many things, and so many users are scared to make these huge changes.
That's it. I think every time they've made big jumps in the past, they've alienated some users, but they've had nowhere to go, so they hung around. But it's put this sour taste in the mouth. And at the same time, they're not vastly improving things. I don't think I've seen anybody talking about the new graph search in a way that... Well, I don't think I've seen anybody talking about the new graph search at all, period, to be honest.
Other than us, no.
And And I've seen, I mean, I remember when the new timeline came out, people thought it was neat, but nobody cared, really. It wasn't that big an improvement over what was there before.
Let me.
So you're right. If on some future update they push out something they think is just super awesome, and at the same time there's another network that comes out that just presents a totally different and radically new view that's better, there are going to be people that say, hey, if I've got to do something different, I might as well go to the place that's better.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now,
on advancing this, Facebook on the Facebook annoys post, Facebook ruins photos with heavy compression. The user interface is confusing. It's often difficult for users to figure out what's going on or get it under control. Facebook drops sometimes important messages into a folder called Other that hardly anyone remembers to check. I haven't checked it in a month, and the last time I did, I had somebody with some, I forget what it was, but I felt awful because I'd ignore the guy. These and other flaws constantly annoy.
Here's the thing, though. Yes, it's not so much, they annoy people in the same way that mosquitoes annoy people. They're little things, and for the most part, most users aren't going to really know or care or think about it.
Sounds like Google Plus.
Yeah, doesn't it? Just, for a different set of crap.
Here's something this is true. I've seen these people who are these fly-by-night relationships. Facebook creates social stress. This is number 4 in Mike Elgan's top 10 list.
Let's finish up on 3.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I think the criticism of Google's photos is a valid one. They butcher photos badly. They don't necessarily present them very well. But at the same time, most people don't care. I mean, yeah, some photographers do, but most people don't notice the fact that their photos have been compressed to hell. They just don't. That's why Facebook can get away with it. Do you know that Google also compresses your photos? No, you don't, for the most part.
Unless you change the setting, which most people don't even know exists.
Right. And the people that do know and care are the photographers. And they're moderately happier, except for the fact that then Auto Awesome goes and ruins them.
I'm not falling for it.
No, I'm sorry, Michael. That's actually a quote from a photographer, not from me. That's a quote that I believe appeared in the Google Help Forum in the past week, where a photographer is saying, "How do I turn off this Auto Awesome garbage?" But
I agree for the most part, as long as it doesn't, affect my photo that I originally upload. Having an additional Auto Awesome photo, I'm like, that's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. But no, in this case, they were talking about the auto enhancements.
Yeah, I agree. Okay,
now, for most users, auto enhance is great and wonderful.
Yep.
But they also won't notice the fact that it's been auto enhanced.
Which is why Facebook is still around.
Right, and that's really, we have this comment from Captain Euro. All this talk about Facebook's imminent demise is just wishful thinking. You can't compare MySpace with Facebook because MySpace did not have 1.2 billion users.
Well, what you can't compare to Facebook is AOL.
Yeah, they can compare. I mean, AOL was, what, 75% of the internet? 90% of the internet at the time?
They failed to.
And they failed. You can compare it to IBM, who had 95% of the computing market.
CompuServe, Prodigy, and on. But AOL was the big incumbent, clearly.
Well, the AOL was the big incumbent when it came to networking, and IBM was the big incumbent when it came to computing. And IBM there was actually a good example about what Michael was talking about. At the same time that IBM stumbled, they stumbled twice. At the same time, somebody else came along and presented a better way of doing things. And after that, IBM never recovered.
And like Mike mentioned, Snapchat, when it started out, seemed to be a great alternative until it made like Snapchat 2.0, which sucked.
Do you think that most new social networks or whatever have a limited lifespan? So eventually Google Plus will also fall?
I think... Go ahead, Michael.
I think the way it's implemented now, where they create social networks as a platform and expand their capability to like websites and login platforms and other things like that, keeps it to be more irrelevant and be around much longer, which is where MySpace failed. it didn't sink its hooks in once it got everyone there. It just, you know, presented this and, hey, here it is, and that's it. Whereas Facebook, they're becoming more of a platform, have developers, have all the apps, have a login system, have, you know, comments, throw that out on different websites. It's learning to stay on different parts of the web to keep it around relevant. So, I mean, everything can fall and be gone the next day.
Okay, so let me ask you guys this. What would it take? That is the question. What's next after Facebook, right? Facebook won't be around for 1,000 years, I don't think.
I already gave my answer.
But I don't think you can simply have another social network, because the key is what Mike said initially. It's like a telephone system. Once 99% of the people have a landline telephone, which was the case back, you know, years ago, not too many years ago, then that's where you got to be. You don't exist if you don't have a phone.
Well, there's a great example, as Michael's saying as well. You know, if you relate Facebook to the telephone, yeah, at some point you're going to be super saturated, and there's going to be some technology that eventually comes along that totally disrupts it. And when it does, it's going to totally disrupt it. And in the case of the landline, that was the cell phone.
But it can't. This is the thing. It has to be something better. It has to be something different and better, and offer something more. In the case of the cell phone, it was portability.
Hang on. You say better. I can make the case that cell phones are worse than landlines.
The quality, sure, but you can't use it.
I'd love to take that one on.
No, hang on. Clearly, the quality of a landline is often better than the quality of a cell phone or mobile phone. But you can't use your cell phone or your landline in your car. It's better in terms of the portability. So what if someone who offered something, for example, we know Google has created a social layer, whatever, a social network, basically not a Facebook clone, but it looks a lot like Facebook. But I think it's better, and some people don't. But that's your call. But what if someone like Netflix, which has a ton of users, what if they created a social network? What if Amazon created a social network? In other words, instead of just someone saying like that, Diaspora, whatever, they were going to create a Facebook clone, I don't think that would work because you wouldn't get the users. You got to offer some reason for people to check you out and join and participate.
Exactly. And this is actually something I've been saying about Google Plus since day one, is that Google needs to offer a compelling reason for people to be here, and in 2.5 years they still haven't done that.
And if you're a new user, by the way, we're watching our live comments, and we see them all, and we're addressing them. So if you're watching, please comment. You can comment on any of the Google Plus posts, or you can comment on YouTube, and we'll see it, and we'll respond back to some of them.
Another paradigm to offering something different, I sort of disagree with that somewhat, because I mean, looking at they can actually make a clone of it and do the same things that Facebook does in a different way. Behind the scenes, it really doesn't do much different. But if it's presented in a different way and interacted in a different way, it could change, I mean, everything. I don't think it has to be one extra thing different or more. I think Facebook problem right now is the way it's presented.
Well, it's not just... Go ahead,
I'll agree with you there. It's not so much that you need something more or better. It's that you need to be different in the right way.
Yes.
And going back to the telephone, going back to the landline versus cell argument, yes, the quality of voice is worse, and you get dropped calls all the time, even if you're on a good network. But the fact that you can take it on the go, the fact that you can use it in other environments, the fact that you've got other features to it, those are enough of a compelling reason to make up for those differences. And I think that's why cell phones are going like gangbusters, and telephones, even though they're dirt cheap now, are still declining in popularity.
Okay, so what we're seeing, we'll get into fragmentation in a minute on social networks, but here's another issue that is a problem when everybody is on it. Facebook creates social stress. This is Mike Elgan's top 10 list here. There are many situations where Facebook puts you into a pickle. For example, you hate your boss. Do you friend him? Do you not friend him? Do you have to change your relationship status for an on-again, off-again relationship? The significant other wants you to, but do you want coworkers involved to see your status? Having a single social network where everybody's expected to participate creates social anxiety. And another part of that is political rants are like death and taxes. Facebook status as a social network for parents, grandparents, cousins, uncles, coworkers, former classmates, and so on means you have to endure political rants, often strident and frequent. Thoughts?
Well, and here's the thing, and here's where I think Facebook was slow to react, and we don't see this a lot on many other social networks. This was, I still think it's the brilliant part of Google Plus, and I think it's the part that Google themselves continue to botch, is that if you're trying to model how we react to the social world in real life, you've got to model that somehow online. And there are a variety of ways to do it. Google picked one. I think they picked a modestly good one, but there are issues. But you need to do that. You can't just say that everybody is a friend. You've got to make these differentiations, even if you're the only one that sees those differentiations. And making that sort of thing easier to work with, I think, is where future social networks are going. Or it's where we're going to start seeing real fragmentation in social networks, and making it so that you can be a part of a billion different social networks that aren't overlapping, and that's fine.
Okay. And then he says, relationships end, Facebook is forever. Sometimes the breakup isn't complete until you leave Facebook. I don't think you can leave Facebook. Because like I said, my mom's, that's where she tells me, Dan, don't forget Christmas Eve, we're this time, my sister. Sometimes people will reach out to me for whatever, and they'll do it with a Facebook message.
I've essentially left Facebook.
I mean, do you check in every week or two? I mean, or you don't at all?
I'm there occasionally, but I almost never participate, and a good 50% of the stuff that I would participate in is cross-posted to Google+.
Yeah, I cross-post there, and I'll respond if someone comments.
But I'll tell you, my parents, if they want to find me, they find me on Google+. My closest friends, if they want to get my opinion, they share it on Google+. Yes, I'll reply to them on Facebook sometimes, maybe, if I remember. But, for me right now, Google+ is how I work with people.
Okay. All right, and then privacy invasion is constant. Number 7, Facebook is harvesting all kinds of information and doing who knows what with it, yet the advertising display doesn't reflect actual interests, and in any event, Facebook has not earned our trust. That's a big thing. I don't feel Google would betray my trust for a buck.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think they have?
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
you don't think that's how they make their money?
I don't think that it's betraying my trust, deceiving me. I don't think of them as sleazy. I think of them generally as trying to make a buck, but doing it in the right way. I think of Facebook as just sleazy and playing fast and loose with the truth, and I don't trust Zuckerberg as far as I could throw him at all. I think I wouldn't want to be in the same room with him. I'd be polite, but... Do you guys trust Facebook? Michael, do you think that they're out for your interests?
I mean, ultimately, their interest is to make money. They're a public entity.
All right. Okay, conversations are annoying. Facebook streams are packed with success theater posts of people bragging about their wonderful life, political rants, ancient internet memes, first world problems, duck face selfies, and endless gossip and chatter. That is true. And I don't see that, but Alan, you might disagree. I don't see that on Google Plus a lot. But I don't follow the same people Pam does, apparently.
Yeah. I see an awful lot of that. I mean, I see selfies and internet memes and, crap like that all the time. I post it. I post crap like that too. I mean, I'm being honest,
I'm trying to figure this one out. I mean, I look at all of those things, and yes,
it's
Facebook
part of being
has it.
social.
Facebook has it, and they suck. And Google Plus has it, and Twitter has it, and Reddit has it, and Imgur has it, and hell, Reddit and Imgur thrive on it. And I'm not sure what network doesn't have it. As Pam just said, That's social. I mean, hell, we had that in email. We had that on Usenet.
Maybe that's why Mike uncircled me a long time ago, because he got tired of the selfies and the internet memes.
I think it
I
was
wasn't
Thursday.
posting enough serious content. You know, I don't know.
I mean, and that's not my biggest issue because I can filter that out. I mean, to a certain extent. But my biggest issue with Facebook was like, if I like a product, I don't want to get ads from you. I have to go in there and turn off notifications and all this other crap instead of just liking it for the record. If I like a show, I just, I like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't want to see every freaking update and everything they push out on the ads saying, hey, here's some Fresh Prince of Bel-Air apparel you can buy. I don't care. I just want to say because I like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Because I thought a long time ago, I thought a little thing, what movies you have read, what things you like. I didn't know, like, 6 months down the line, they're going to flip this switch in the feed where now everything I typed in there, I'm automatically like to. So that was my biggest annoyance. As far as, conversations and everything being annoying in Facebook streams, that's my biggest part. And now with the mobile version, I'm seeing ads every freaking time I scroll through 3, news postings or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I so took that off my phone. Okay, bullying, shaming, and trolling. There's a lot of abuse on Facebook, especially among high school kids. This is a prescient point here. The abuse is especially effective because the user's whole social and family group might see it. That's a very important point. That's the problem with everyone being on it. Your coworker, your family, everybody, right? I don't know how much abuse occurs on Twitter or on Google Plus, but I know
I kind of disagree with what you just said. The fact that your mother and your father and your sister and your Uncle Joe and all that stuff can see when you're getting abused is a good thing because the kid's not going to tell their parents that this is happening. So maybe a little early warning system is a good thing,
Yeah, but it makes you feel worse. I mean, I can.
It does make you feel worse because all of those family members get to see it, but it makes you feel worse because you're filled with teenage angst, not because, it's that's going to cloud your Uncle Joe's opinion of you. You know what I mean? I mean, you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think the issue, though, is it causes more damage because...
Psychologically.
Yeah.
And I think that only happens because the person lets it because of their settings. I mean, no one can tag me or mention me in anything without it. It won't show up on my timeline unless I allow it to. I mean, but a regular person won't know how to set that up.
But...
If you're a 14-year-old boy or girl...
They don't know how to set that up.
That's right. Not only will they not know how to, they're not going to want to because they're afraid they might miss something.
Well, I mean, the way mine works is if I'm tagged, they won't show up on my timeline. So they would only see it in the feed if all of the other people are associated to it. But, I mean, if someone, like an employer or someone, goes to my timeline, they won't see everything I've been mentioning, which is how the timeline works.
Yeah, but if we're looking at Facebook, though, if somebody posts something to my wall, do I have any control over whether it stays on my wall?
Yes. You have total control over your wall. Okay. And that's what I'm saying. Every time if I mention in a post or something, it's supposed to show up on my wall since it's part of me. But it goes into this, I think the feature is called timeline review. And you can allow things to show up in your timeline, hide it, but not remove yourself from the tag. I mean, there's many settings out there for this control, for the bullying filter and features, all that. But, I mean, a person won't know how to use that stuff.
Well, here's the other thing, though. Even if it doesn't show up on my wall, if all of my friends see it because they're friending with the person who's bullying me as well, that's still...
It would only show up in
the
feed, and then if you mark it as bullying or whatever, and you go through the correct channels, then it would get taken down. But the instant, instant thing that happened that go down the feed, yes, there's no control over that. But that's any social network and anything pretty much on the internet.
Well, but again, the problem isn't the problem gets back to how do you model real life and how do you put in real life protections against this sort of thing. And
I mean, but that can happen in real life too. If you're
Yeah.
all in class, I mean, same thing happen. So I mean, I don't think there is a solution. It's all about the people that you allow to interact with you.
Okay.
Anyway, we've got a whole. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You want to do
comments? We've got a
comments?
bunch of comments.
Go ahead.
No. Do the last one, and then we have some comments that I want to bring in.
Okay. The last one, number 10 here, is fear of an unknown future. At some point, will users realize that all Facebook sharing really amounts to them violating their own privacy? Will posts today harm relationships, job prospects, or other opportunities tomorrow?
Yes, in short.
So why don't you, and I would say that then he talks, you should read it's on Datamation. I linked to it below. And he talks about what they're trying to do to stop the bleeding, that they're making deals with carriers and that sort of thing.
Let's get to some of these comments first.
Okay, go ahead.
And then we'll talk about it. So this one from Cadeas. I agree with Michael. They're not necessarily striving to be a social network, but a social backbone, so it won't die as quickly as the others. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure if he's talking about Facebook or Google Plus there. I'm assuming he's talking about Facebook. And I both agree and disagree with you there. It's clear that I think they've realized that they had better do something else. You know, they need to expand more than just a social network. But I think social networking is such a part of their core that I don't think they know how to get out of that. I mean, providing an identity service, okay, that's good and that's useful and that's big, and I think that's where they've got their best chance. But where do you go after that? I mean, do you have any thoughts on that one, Michael? Is where do they go after being an identity service?
I mean, I think them expanding to somehow get more people on Facebook to doing those platformed items like comments and posts and.
Well, that's the identity service, though.
They do the identification service. I guess the next step would be sort of media production to take over the video portion, because they've started adding video into their timeline. So I mean, I think video, audio, or media, some kind of that publication, getting people to create original content, maybe streaming, maybe high content like YouTube or something like that, like Amazon, Netflix.
That's an interesting angle. Okay, Kadeh has clarified, by the way, that he's talking about Google Plus. So there, yes, I have to agree more. I think, Google Plus's advantage, as I think everyone who's watched us knows that we talk about this all the time, is that really they're integrating a consistent social system into all of Google's products. And it's more than just sharing, and it's more than just an identity service. It's a lot more than that, and I think we're seeing more and more of that as we go along. So yes, the comment service is part of that, but I think there's more to it than that. We're going to start seeing reputation services in there. We're going to start seeing the social network helping determine, again, as part of reputation, how much we trust and what kinds of solutions we're looking for. So it also becomes our interest network. It becomes a lot of things.
It'd be scary if the insurance starts tapping into Facebook and see what you do and raise your premiums and all this other stuff too.
And they can do that. Yeah. But I think, I don't know, I think you've got a good point about content production. I think the other thing that Facebook is well positioned to be in is taking another stab at applications. We see. Well, I mean, games are the obvious thing that's there, but that's there already.
But it sucks still.
Well,
while some are still addictive, as it's not aligned to a similar game as far as like Call of Duty or like a bigger game platform.
Right, and I think if they start taking stabs at bigger game platforms and also start doing things like, well, okay, since all of your coworkers are on Facebook, what can we do with that information? What can your company do by providing applications on Facebook?
When they when they did the games, it was obviously a failure and they pulled them. But Was
in
it a
Google
failure
Plus.
because Google Plus? Yes, Kadea said no. I'm talking about Google Plus. So did it fail because they did it too soon and it was still male-centric geek land, or did they do it because,
because
it wasn't rolled out well enough, or was it a failure because they
Dan,
didn't spam everybody, and those games only work if you can spam all your friends and then they become fun because they're social?
Two things here. First of all, Dan, did you just actually ask if games failed because Google Plus was a male-centered geek network?
Well,
think about that. This was their target audience. You know, that in a lot of ways defines the common audience between the two, and it
fair
failed.
point.
No.
It failed because you could turn it off, and you could,
it failed for two reasons.
They
One,
didn't
because
spam us.
everyone was used to trying to do the Facebook model of social gaming, which isn't even vaguely social. And when Google relegated that to the backwaters of Google Plus, they screwed themselves over. I think the current approach, games didn't disappear from Google Plus. And this is where I think people are confused again. Games are front and center in Google Plus. The Google Play game services rely 100% on Google Plus. If you have a Google Play game, you're using Google Plus. You rely on it. And I think we're going to see more and more of that over the next 2 years, I'll say.
Are the comments in the Play Store going to be, or are they at all integrated with Google Plus yet?
Already.
They are.
Badly so, but yes.
Okay.
But I've beaten that drum to death.
Do you have any more comments you want to get into?
Oh, we got so many more comments.
Go ahead, yeah.
Again from Cadeas. Generally, every 5 to 7 years, there's a change in every industry. Something comes out better or people get bored and move on. It's inevitable. The question, though, in every case, and this is true, the question, though, is do they move on because it's better, or do they move on because the incumbent screws up?
Both.
And it takes, and I agree with Michael, it takes both in order for that to happen.
Yep.
There are a lot of cases where there's better, and people didn't move to the better because what they had was good enough and it didn't screw up. VHS, I think, is a good example of that. VHS wasn't the best. The best was there, and it took a long time for VHS to finally be unseated.
Beta was the best.
It took a combination of technologies to do that.
VHS, you could go 2, 4, or 6 hours. With Beta, you couldn't. But the quality was better on Beta. And TV stations, until some are probably still using Beta.
Right, and VHS didn't get, even then afterwards, you had 3 different video disc formats. Okay, DVDs didn't really knock out VHS until you had recordability on one hand, and until DVRs came around. And when DVRs came around, people said, why are we still using this crappy tape? And they moved on.
DVDs, the biggest thing about them was you didn't have to rewind them. That was the biggest thing.
Right, and even that didn't completely usurp VHS.
Yep.
It really took the combination of DVDs and
The quality.
DVRs.
Yep.
To usurp VHS. So more comments. Kevin replied to me saying, if Google shoves Google Plus down your throat on every single one of their services, like they have on YouTube, like they're doing with everything else, does that count as a reason to use it?
I think that's irrelevant. I think you're going to be using it regardless.
In the end, though, that's a good thing. They absolutely are shoving it down YouTube's throat, no doubt. 100%. Turn around, grab your ankles, here we come. They're doing it. But to us who like Google Plus, and to the other people are beginning, because you don't hear the outcry anymore. As we predicted when they first did it, or I predicted, being the omniscient one that I am, that would be a week of pulling of hair, gnashing of teeth, and then another week of, I hate it still. And then eventually they're going to realize, wait a minute, I'm getting more traction on my videos because of this. But when someone shares it on Google Plus, it's more traction on the YouTube, and all that stuff adds up to more popping up natively in search results, because those are comments. The more people comment on your video, the more YouTube's algorithms say, hey, this is a good one to show up as a related search item for free. And so they're getting more views because of it. So all of a sudden, you don't hear this bitching anymore.
I think, though, long term, that it will end up sort of like Facebook, where they have this huge number, and they're there because they have to be there. Because I don't know anyone that likes Facebook, but they have to be there. I think Google Plus may end up like that social network where no one likes to be there, but they have to be there.
I agree with Brian on. I agree with with Michael on that point. I think that's what Kevin was getting to. Does that count as a reason to use Google Plus? Only in the same way that it counts as a reason to use Facebook, because you have to.
The difference is that Facebook has to generate money from Facebook. Google Plus.
And YouTube has to generate money from YouTube.
But Google Plus doesn't. My point is that the ads aren't as in your face. I mean, YouTube, you get a pre-roll, and then if someone bothers to put stuff,
you're really trying to say that YouTube's advertising is less in your face than Facebook's? Really?
Yeah.
What?
I think so.
You get a freaking pre-roll every time you freaking click on a video, and then all of them you can't skip. Then you get the ads on the video. Then you get the annotation of ads. Then you get a freaking, what's the word? Freaking roll. Freaking ads.
I mean, I
have Ad Blocker Plus. I don't see very many ads.
I do too, but hey, I'm
But Pam, do you see the ads on YouTube though? The pre-rolls?
No.
AdBlock Plus gets rid of those? Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I don't see them either, but I'm trying to.
I can watch any Vivo video or whatever. I don't have to see those ads first.
Yep.
We're sponsored by AdBlocker Plus.
And speaking of YouTube, we have this comment from ICJ. We haven't seen you in a while, by the way. Google Plus has a really crappy graphic user interface. Most all YouTube users hate Google Plus.
I disagree there.
I got news for you. You want to know a crappier UI than Google Plus? YouTube's. YouTube's. Man, YouTube, I can never find my way around that thing.
Agreed.
It's a massive mess.
Yeah, cluster.
Yeah, to stop yourself there, Alan.
Yeah, it's a Charlie Foxtrot. Seriously. But I will agree. I think the Google Plus UI sucks, and I've said that since. Well, let's see. I've said that since the last 2 changes, haven't I?
I will say though, YouTube changes like every year. They change their UI like constantly. So
well, they've changed theirs at least 3 times in the past year, haven't they?
Yeah, it's been a lot. Yeah.
It's been a mess, and it just makes it harder to find stuff. It doesn't make it easier. What I'm really hopeful for, is that we finally start getting that simpler somewhere.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So, okay, the final point he makes is as embarrassment about the bleeding users, 16 to 8. This one anecdote from UK, a study found that 16 to 18-year-olds in the UK were embarrassed to be even associated with Facebook. It's so dire. Mike Elgan says that they've partnered with T-Mobile to offer free data just for Facebook, and there are other similar things like this. So the key is, the basic premise is that teens are leaving. They're not really leaving as much as they're spending much less time on Facebook and more time on other services like Instagram, the photo sharing service, Twitter, the microblogging service.
Or Snapchat.
Or Snapchat.
Where they can send naked pics.
The teen sexting service. So they are, but those are not replacements for the general all-purpose social network. They are niche, and they can have their own little social groups on Twitter, and although Twitter's more consumption, but some teens are using it. Some teens are marking their tweets private and just letting certain people see them, but they're not really deleting their Facebook accounts. They're just using it less, and that's the fear that's struck in Facebook why they're doing all these promos. Remember, that's why AOL got so big, because they were spamming us before the word spam existed, I guess, with these CDs in your mailbox. So, anyway, I don't see this bubble, to get to his theme, Mike's theme, bursting until something better comes along that can attract the massive numbers so that you can replace the everyone's on it, but maybe have more segmented sub-networks, if that ever exists. I don't know how you would do that. I'd love to see a service, I don't know if it exists, where I could type in Pam Adger, and it would show is she on Twitter, Google, Facebook? Is she on Instagram? Everything.
Well, here's the thing.
When you say is she on, do you mean like actively have that app open, or do you mean
online? Or
yeah, because the reason that we still maintain a Facebook account is because that's the only way some people can find us. If there was some central directory of every single thing, like what's the game? Somebody said it's a virtual reality world in one of the comments. Someone mentioned it.
I don't think you understand. Do you mean am I a member of Facebook, or do you mean am I online at this time?
No, I mean, in other words, let's say that I'm
I'm your
long lost classmate and I'm looking for Pam. And I would look at any of your public accounts and I'd say, oh, that's her. I recognize the picture. Go ahead, Alan.
Yellow pages.
He wants white pages, not yellow pages.
Yeah.
But yes, that's what he wants. And the issue is that none of the networks are going to do that anymore because they all got burned when they tried to do that with instant messaging. And that was a major Charlie Foxtrot for everybody. Oh, yeah. And as an identity service, it failed miserably.
Google tried in search. And they got freaking hosed by Twitter, they got hosed by Facebook, and that's why their crappy stuff don't show up in search.
And I agree. Captain Euro says there is such a service. It's called Google.com. True. And ICJ says NSA equals less social network usage. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, carrier pigeons? You know, what's left? And then...
well, it depends on, I mean, seriously, there's some guy in the government, like, reading my private chats or my private texts to my husband or something. I mean, who gives a crap?
Well, here's the real question. Okay, it means less social network usage. Does it also mean less telephone usage? I don't
exactly.
think so. I don't think it's going to.
Or less IM or less whatever. No, I don't think so. I think people are going to, again, conveniently forget that that means everything, not just your public posts on Google+. It means everything else. Do I need to send you a lamp, Alan? I need to send you a lamp.
No, you don't. I just need to actually get one.
They're cheap. I will Amazon you one.
No. My lamp broke, and I keep forgetting to get the replacement. I finally got the replacement bulb for it, and it blew out again. So I need to replace my lamp. That's all.
And then Kadea says, but Dan, the majority of users are starting to get into more niche services than having a massive social network, particularly the younger people. I totally agree. That was my point. They're not leaving Facebook. They're spending a lot less time. They're checking in on Facebook because they have to, because that's how their mom might talk to them. And but they're actually talking with their younger friends on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, those things. So
I didn't
Facebook's
even know
losing a lot of their attention. Not all of it, but they're less. They're not hovering on Facebook like they used to.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pam.
I didn't know that you could talk to people on Instagram and Imager and
direct Instagram,
Tumblr, or any of those other places. I had no idea.
I mean, it's not the same thing. It's I don't know. I don't really. I mean, I think at some point I've signed up for all those things, but I don't know. I mean, but they all have social elements. You certainly could comment. You could. I don't know.
They're making it too where you can DM now, or like Instagram Direct, or like Snapchat Direct, or however they call their little service. But I mean, they're making these more closed things that keeps you on the platform, that makes you share something more privately. I think private is going to be like the 2014 thing. Getting things more secure, getting things to one person privately.
And not just privately, but ephemerally. Being able to be assured that your posts are destroyed at some point.
Destroy it, yeah.
Yeah,
destroyed.
I have, yeah.
Well, but that's the premise of Snapchat. I mean,
yeah, but
Snapchat.
Screenshots. I'm sorry, screenshots.
Take a fast screenshot.
That's right. I got a whole folder full of screenshots. I mean.
Uh-oh. Pam's got her extortion file on us.
Not on you guys.
Okay. Okay, for anyone watching, I just added there was a question about the topic codes. I just added the draft, all the topics that we're doing to the YouTube description. So if you're watching on
Yeah.
YouTube, you can
I
refresh if
explained,
necessary.
Dan, I explained that already.
Yeah, I would just tell him that if he wanted to see him now, I just added, before I just said a lively talk show or something. And so now I've added them. Or did you just say that?
No,
Okay.
I actually replied, never mind. Let's keep going.
I'm saying I don't know too much.
I don't know.
Says the young guy in Tokyo or California who was on TV recently on a crazy Japanese show. Okay, so we all agree Facebook has maybe 3 months left.
I wish.
Okay, so they'll be around until something better comes along. Maybe Rupert Murdoch will buy them. Since his MySpace investment was epic. Any final thoughts on this? Okay. Next. Google could face massive fines from the European Union in an antitrust case. The basic stuff, we've talked about this a million times, and apparently there was a settlement, but that's not going to fly. So,
Well, they're still negotiating it. Who knows what's going to end up?
yeah, the basic thing here is that, I mean, I forget now. It's been so long. I know, like, the issues U.S. stateside were, like, kayak.com was upset that Google would promote its own services. My view is tough. If you go to Walmart, you might see a great value brand product. And in Target, you might see whatever their house brand is. Aldi, Trader Joe, they have tons of house brands. Aldi's almost exclusively house brands. And in the U.S., there's Bing, which sucks compared to Google, but it's okay. If Google was down, you could use Bing and probably find what you wanted. And I don't have a problem with the company promoting. You know, in my newspaper, if I'm selling something, if I'm selling a pickup truck, I would run an ad in my newspaper for free because I own the newspaper. That's an advantage of owning a property. So tell me where I'm wrong, anybody.
When Google does it, it's wrong. They're wrong. But everyone else can do it.
This actually, I mean, here's what it is. It essentially goes back, in some ways it does go back to the last issue that we had. You know, it's great if somebody else can get their their foot in the door to be able to disrupt the incumbent. But has Google, and it actually will probably tie into our next subject as well, if I think. Yeah. But has Google so entrenched themselves in such a way that it's not possible for an incumbent to come in, even if Google screws up? That's the question. If Google makes things so bad that everyone would want to leave, but they can't, is that being anti-competitive? And that's where the EU's got issues. Now, I'm not going to say whether they're right or wrong, but that's the attitude about it. And I think we're beating a dead horse on this one. We don't really care. Anyway, I found 2 more comments from the last one that I wanted to share. Michael Mason, I finally got my dad on Google Plus a few days ago as he was sick of calling me to fire up Skype. We now hang out and he loves it. And the recent update of the Facebook app for the phone asked to read my SMS messages. So now I don't have a Facebook app on my phone anymore. I have not left Facebook, but I don't see why they would need that information, so I currently only check Facebook from my computer. Well, but here's the thing. Google now has Google's app asks to access your SMS messages. Why can Google do it and Facebook can't?
And your contacts, and they control your network access, and they basically took over my phone completely.
How could they take over your phone completely when they provided the operating system, Pam?
Shut up. That's what I mean.
Now, what phone do you have, Pam?
I have the beautiful Samsung Note 3.
I'm not jealous at all, just so you know.
You should see the screen, Dan. It is awesome.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, I've tried. When Home came out, I stuck it on my phone, the launcher, and just to try it, to review it. And then I had the app on my phone for a while, but I couldn't control the notifications I was getting. Now maybe they've gotten better at that, but I just was like, screw this. I mean, my phone would, beep or whatever, and I'd look down, and there'd be a notification that somebody invited me to play some stupid freaking game or some BS. And I'm like, that, if someone sends me a message, fine. Hey, do you want to hang out this weekend? Whatever it is. I don't mind my phone lighting up for that. But for a game notification or someone shared a picture, are you kidding? I don't want that level of stuff interrupting my phone. So I just got rid of it and I haven't put it back. I don't care what they do. Like I said, it's to me, it's the mailbox that I check once a week because you got to have a mailbox so the DMV can write you and whatever. But it's other than that, it's, to get to that one DMV letter, you've got 5,000 credit card offers and furniture store blowout sale and blah, 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 all this crap that I don't care about. Okay. So the other thing is we decided was related. Let's be honest. This is a total clickbait article, but they sucked me in. It's an interesting topic. The title is, when will Microsoft...
They suckered you in, so you're going to sucker us into it?
Pretty much. And just because I hate Microsoft, and basically, if you want me to talk about your story on the show, just troll Microsoft and let me know about it. So anyway, the story here, when will Microsoft pull the plug on Bing? And then they've got a nice screen cap of this awful Scroogled thing. So they discuss, this is by Matthew Iglesias. Is the Y pronounced? I'm not sure. We'll have to get him on sometime.
Just summarize the story.
In light of the Google Zapped Rap Genius, which is a whole different story, I should have stuck in there. I don't think we did. He's been wondering when we're going to start to see calls in the U.S. for serious antitrust scrutiny of Google. It's already become fully mainstream in Europe, as we just discussed, but in the U.S., we love...
What story are you on?
Are we on when will Microsoft pull the plug on Bing?
Yeah.
I'm reading that story.
Okay.
I'm summarizing it. So he says, the problem for both us and Google is that by no means clear that Bing will be around all that much longer. Steve Ballmer's run as Microsoft CEO hasn't been great for Microsoft shareholders, but it's been a boon to the world since his determination to pour money into an online services division that competes with Google on several fronts has given Mountain View a dose of competition. That's true. But Ballmer's been more or less fired, and Microsoft's board is supposed to appoint a new CEO next year. Will Ballmer's successor share his determination to go head-to-head with the king of search? If you were given the job, would you? I wouldn't. Online services has been a huge financial disaster for Microsoft. But if it goes away, then suddenly Google becomes a monopoly. So really, Microsoft, if nothing else, they do serve that purpose. Google can always say, we're not a monopoly. There's always Bing, right?
Right.
Jeeves isn't around anymore.
This is at the same time why Google, for example, is funding 2 browsers being developed, so they can't be accused of becoming a browser monopoly. A couple of comments I want to quickly introduce. ICJ, Bing is getting better. Brian, Bing could only get better.
Exactly, that's what's about to say.
I use Yahoo, so how come no one mentions Yahoo?
Because Yahoo is Bing.
Exactly.
Yahoo is Bing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
They only create media. They don't do search no more.
Oh, well, Yahoo's the best for porn.
Porn and tabloids?
That's why the only reason Pam got a Note 3 is because the Samsung Mega is not available in the U.S. yet. That's got an even bigger screen.
Yahoo. That's why.
So just to talk about how, and then just to finish this topic off, and then you guys can talk about it. But since the first quarter of 2005, Microsoft's online division has lost $10.9 billion. And I think in the this article's from July, and they had just lost to about $250 billion the previous quarter in their online division, which includes Bing and MSN.
So wait, if they've lost 10.5 billion in 7 years, and on the previous quarter they lost 2.5 billion.
No, a quarter billion.
A quarter billion.
So a billion, if you average that out for the year.
Okay.
So I mean, isn't
so? Hey, they're losing less money now.
I thought Google Plus Week was a money-sucking hole. I had no idea.
Doesn't all the departments lose money except like what Xbox just turned a profit?
Office.
Other than the hardware stuff, you know, that stuff. But I mean,
they've got divisions that make a lot of money. I'm not. Office certainly used to be their bread and butter. I'm not sure that's true anymore. Their server stuff makes them a
oh yeah, enterprise. Enterprise is where they make money.
Yeah, their enterprise makes them a boatload of money.
So I mean, like they said, the web stuff is just terrible.
Let me look at ICJ makes the comment. Microsoft makes valid points. Oops, that Google users just glaze over. I like getting scroogled. I like that the ads are relevant in Google. If I'm searching for something, I like that if Alan emails me and says, hey, let's meet at I.O. tomorrow at whatever restaurant, that Google now will figure that out and automatically suggest directions to that restaurant. I have no problem with this. And the ads, it's not like they're storing, I don't know. I mean, I have no problem with it. I think it provides valuable services and allows them to do all this playground stuff like cars and stuff that's, you know, costing money because all the cash they make from their ads. I have no problem with it. I know what they're doing. I have no problem with it. I trust them more than I trust the NSA that's allows some 20-something to literally steal everything and walk out. Everything. He took everything. So
we've got our viewer Michael Mason has pulled up some numbers for us. Google currently has 71.68% of the search market, with Bing coming up with 19.63, followed by Yahoo at 8.11. I'm assuming that's just U.S. search, not worldwide search.
Yeah, whatever's hot in China, I'm guessing is.
Yeah, I was just say it's Baidu or whatever in China, and you can't.
They used to have the best illegal movies, you know.
So that's a guess, but even so.
So I've heard.
Yeah, that's a big chunk. You know, still with 30% of the market left to divvy up, that's a decent chunk.
But it's not because they can't use Bing. The difference, if you only have one cable provider, you can get pissed off. You know, if DirecTV and Dish Network didn't exist.
But here's the thing:
they can use Bing. They're choosing not to use Bing. It's not like there's one electric company in your town.
Let me ask: are they choosing not to use Bing because they're aware that there's something else, or do they think that the only game in town is Google? How many people do you think know that Bing exists?
In the same way that Samsung is what people think of when they think of Android. In many cases, a point.
Well, in the same way that people think
when they think of search, it's a verb. Let's Google it. No one Bings anything.
Well, but
except in Pam's community.
It's in the same way that people think when you think, what are you going to sneeze into? You sneeze into Kleenex.
Coke.
You don't sneeze into a generic term.
A generic term for soda.
Well, but no.
Pop.
Coke and Pepsi. Coke is actually Coke's a good example. People understand that there is another product called Pepsi, and there are other products as well. People know that because Pepsi has spent a lot of time and money.
Well, plus they pushed Coke out of Costco's now, so all the Costco's are now Pepsi. So
why was that?
Pepsi starting to take over.
Wasn't there an interesting story about that? What was the reason for that?
I don't know, but I hate it because I hate Pepsi. I hate Pepsi.
Costco's the second biggest retailer in the country. It shows you how big Walmart is, because Walmart's like massively bigger than Costco, like twice as big. But they're like the Thriller album, and Costco is like way smaller than Walmart, but they're the second biggest, and then everyone else is like third, fourth. We'll have to figure that out because that was an interesting story.
Cadeus replies to me saying, that's Microsoft's fault that the Bing challenge didn't catch on. It's not Google's fault nobody knows. Well, I think it's also part of it is that people looked at it and said, no, there really isn't that much of a difference. You know, there's nothing. This goes back to the previous two subjects we've been talking about. Bing hasn't prepared a compelling reason why people should switch. You know, at best, people are looking. You know, people took Bing it on, and they said, "I'm getting answers that are almost exactly the same. So what?" You know, and there's no reason why they're not. Why they're not. Don't want to. That said, however, look at this comment from Morton. Considering how Microsoft has integrated Bing into 8.1, I'd be surprised if they decided to kill the search engine. In addition, I don't look with rosy eyes on a future where there's only one search engine, i.e. where Google is the monopoly, which is what the EU is trying to make sure doesn't happen.
I agree with that. I don't think there should be one search engine. I think that competition is healthy in any business, and I think the truth, Google should make sure that there's always at least another search engine. Otherwise, they're going to get complacent and someone's going to knock them upside the head.
I agree. And I think that's where Microsoft fell down, is they did get complacent when it came to operating systems and browsers and got knocked off very, very soundly. That's what ultimately killed Microsoft. That, and they spent an awful lot of time and resources trying to fight the monopoly charges against them. A couple more comments. Replying to my comment earlier, I forget exactly what I said, but it was about, why was it okay that Google tap into your SMS, but not okay that Facebook do so? I don't really know why. But with the Android system, I let Google back up my contacts and such anyway, so I already allow them access to most, if not everything on my phone. So I let them have access. It's probably not very smart, but, well, perhaps I'm not that smart. I don't know, I think you're smarter than you realize. But especially the fact that I now have you thinking about the fact, why am I letting Google do all of, do this, but not Facebook? And ICJ does point out, Microsoft makes valid points that Google users just glaze over. I wish you would elaborate on that a little bit so we can knock some of those valid points off.
That's what I was just talking about.
But here's the thing. They do make valid points. There is this little tiny nugget of truth in the Scroogled campaign. The problem is they then pile on all of the BS that totally discredit them.
And it appears that there was a spat in 2009 over price, and they pulled all the Coke products from Costco. But Pam, are you saying they don't sell the cans in the back, or the food court? You're muted.
Food court.
Yeah, they pulled that. They said they switched in 2009 to the Kirkland hot dog, and they dumped Hebrew National hot dogs, and then they upped the Coke from 12 to 20 ounce, and I think it's price. That's still the best deal. Coke or Pepsi, $1.50 for a quarter-pound hot dog and a 20-ounce soda. They haven't raised the price in 27 years, and I think it still makes a profit, especially now they're making their own hot dogs.
Heck yeah.
Free refill.
Free refills as long as you're there. It's not like they have a refill monitor. They're like, oh no, you did one.
Oh my God. I see Pam's had a free refill since we started.
Some more comments from Brian. I'll give Bing one thing. It's pretty. Google's done itself a disservice by making their search results more complicated as time has gone on. Bing looks easier, even if it's ultimately not. That's an interesting point, especially considering that Google's big claim to fame once upon a time was it was very simple, very straightforward, almost bare bones. This one from Cadeus, we're gonna. we've seen what happens when a government steps in and orders a company to make competition. We get AT&T in the 1980s and then AT&T today. The government can't make the marketplace competitive. That's an interesting point. But remember one thing. The only reason why we have AT&T rebuilding itself today is because it now has competition. Back when AT&T was broken up, there was nothing. You had Ma Bell and you liked it. And if you didn't like it, you didn't have a telephone. Because that was your choice. Those were your only choices.
Well, also AT&T diversified as well. In fact, they make most of their money off of big corporate accounts, not the telephone, you know. So they're into more server stuff and things like that.
Pam, let me ask you a question. When you were a little younger than you were now.
My dad worked for AT&T for a while, actually.
Oh, hey. How much did you pay for a local phone call per minute? Off the top of your head, really, this wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, I know. I'm guessing between 5 and 7 cents a minute.
Okay, and now, how much do you pay for a local telephone call? How much do you pay for a long-distance telephone call on a landline?
I don't have a landline.
If you had okay, how much do you pay for a long-distance telephone call on your cell phone?
I pay $50 a month for unlimited.
For unlimited?
Unlimited in the continental United States, and I think Canada. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Canada. I'd have to check my plan. But it's definitely
the only reason why we've got such competitive pricing right now is because we have competition, and we didn't have that until AT&T was broken up at the point of a gun.
Oh, we used to time our phone calls.
Yeah.
You know, especially if we were calling Grandma in Denver. Ooh, you know. Okay, we got 15 minutes.
You know, I think I'm sorry, Cadeas. I really have to disagree with you on this one. The AT&T breakup is the case study in why you want to force break somebody up. It's possibly the only monopoly I think was legitimately broken up.
Yeah, and monopolies are not a good thing for.
You couldn't even own your phone.
And the truth is it's not good for the company itself. No competition, like I said before, no competition is a bad thing for the monopoly as well as the people using the service. I completely agree with that.
Well, again, Cadeas keeps trying to defend himself. Valiant effort. You can't consider Verizon and T-Mobile and Sprint as competition. They all work together.
Agreed.
They do all work together, and the truth is that Verizon and AT&T own most of the
spectrum.
the lines.
Yep.
And they rent them out to the other companies because they're forced to, not because they want to. But without competition, you become.
We never would have gotten here.
Yeah, you get complacent and innovation goes out the window. You have to have competition in order to spur innovation, and that's why Google should welcome competition and why Microsoft should welcome competition, because otherwise they're not going to innovate.
To jump on the side of Cadeas, I mean, it's to a point where these networks have milked the cow, so to speak, to delay innovation a good extent.
I don't think I've ever heard a educated person group Verizon with Sprint and T-Mobile before.
What do you mean?
Well, Verizon is part of a monopoly with AT&T. I mean,
yeah,
it's
But
it's basically 50. I mean, well, not. I mean,
All of them
It's basically
it's
split with
one to me.
AT&T and Verizon, and then like T-Mobile and Sprint have what, like
Well,
They're almost
10,
one to-
15% of the
they're almost
market.
one to me.
and AT&T owns a lot of the international
Yeah.
lines too. The transatlantic and transpacific ocean lines are all AT&T. I mean, and without that, we would kind of be screwed, So the monopoly did some good, but not enough to justify a monopoly.
Brian points out, that there's only a couple of telcos in Canada, and they definitely suffer from lack of competition.
Yep.
Since those telcos, collude and screw the consumer over, and I think that is a concern.
And look at cable companies. Up until very recently, they basically carved the U.S. up into territories, and they were monopolies. They're the satellite before the satellite.
Yeah.
Yeah, was you either had Time Warner or Comcast or screw
like
you.
That.
Yeah.
Still like that.
Well, but
no, you always have like direct.
Two. I have two choices.
We don't have choice in
I have
Rochester.
two choices.
You have Time Warner and you have the satellite company.
And I have Comcast and AT&T. Them the only two choices I have.
Oh, that's true. At least.
Here's an interesting point, though. Here's the interesting angle to that one, and that's that you're now seeing the very radically disruptive technology come in and screw over the duopoly in that industry. You're seeing Netflix.
But I mean that at that level, at that internet provider level, Netflix is only hindering my internet experience with that provider. Because what I just ran into now, where Comcast now, I only have 300 gigabytes per month. So if I use Netflix in 1080p, that's killing my 300 gig cap.
Right, but remember, Comcast still sees itself. It doesn't really see itself as an ISP. It sees itself because they're stupid. They see themselves as a video company.
That's what they want to be. That's not what they are.
Well, that's what they see themselves as a video company. They don't really see themselves as an ISP. They don't realize that yet, though, Michael.
I get that. It's frustrating to me at this point.
Well, it's frustrating to me too. But the point, my point is, though, they see themselves as a video company.
They want to.
And as a video company, their industry is being massively disrupted by the internet.
Yes.
And we saw this very briefly a bunch of years back when landlines were being massively disrupted by internet telephony. And that suddenly stopped because it then got massively disrupted by cell phones.
Yep. But we don't have the extra thing to... At the ISP level, there is not really anything to subvert that technology-wise so far.
No, but I think there's a lot of promising things that are out there, and
I pray for it.
And I think cell may be part of it.
Short of the government providing it on a major scale, I don't see anything, and everyone will cringe at that when that happens.
By the way, I just want to point out I haven't gotten this kind of feedback in a while, telling me that I'm right. So thank you, ICJ.
Where's the other feedback about your appearance? That was my favorite. Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Did you miss that?
If you want my fantasies, that's another show altogether. Trust me on that.
That was before my time.
All right. So, all right, we all agree on that one. And I found out, I did a search here on Bing, and I got to tell you, I don't know who copied who, but the Bing really looks... They've got the Wikipedia article here on the right and the logo. Did they steal that from Google, or did...
Bing is very visually pleasing, I must say. I like the photos and the little video thing they do, but I don't like their search results.
So apparently it's a cost thing, because Coke didn't want their products sold that cheap, and Costco said, up yours. And my favorite article, Pam would love this. This is from the San Diego Reader. Outrage at Costco food court. Pepsi replaces Coke. First, they kick out the Hebrews, and now this. I love it. Oh, my God. So anyway, I'll tell you what, though. Those Kirkland hot dogs are killer. They're really good. I don't want to see one being made. I don't care what brand it is. The best ever are those
That's killer
ones.
for you.
And Anthony, you correct me if I'm wrong. The best I've ever had is that Boar's Head brand, that high-end New York deli. Those are the best damn hot dogs I've ever had. All their meat's good.
I'm pretty sure your favorite hot dog has at least a little bit to do with where you live. At least it does in Rochester. If you're from Buffalo, you have your hot dogs. If you're from Rochester, you have your hot dogs. And if
I don't
you're
care
from
for hot
Syracuse,
dogs.
you have your hot dogs. So
I really don't care for hot dogs, no matter where they're from.
It's better than MREs, Michael.
That's debatable.
Yeah, I guess Anthony and
When was
Alan
the
are
last time you
probably-
had an MRE?
Who, me?
No, Dan.
Okay,
I've never
okay.
had one. I was just trolling him.
Dan.
No,
They're
I'm joking.
awesome.
The MREs are awesome, I've heard, but they.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy who was in the New Orleans thing for
They
a
have
period
a
of time.
shitload of calories, but they're really good.
He said they're really good, but they get old if you're eating them 3 times a day for any period of time. That's what he said.
Nah,
But he
that's
said
They
they're
have
awesome.
so many.
They're really
Yeah,
good.
that's true. But that's true about anything.
average calorie count is like 2,200.
For one
yeah,
meal.
it's a day. It's a Well, no, it's a day. It's It's your daily
MRE.
ration.
Wow.
One MRE.
And
No,
if you're an
daily is
active
like 3.
soldier, that's cool. You know.
Well, no, and you need 8,000 calories a day if you're
Doing
you know,
that,
yeah, if you're gunning down Afghanis.
8,000 calories a day.
Well, if you eat 3 of them, right? So each one has 2,200. So that's about 66. Yeah.
My
60
God, the army must have to pull over to poop constantly. Hang on, Saddam.
There's more to that, but I'm not going to go into it. What's the next topic?
Yeah. That's not an official topic.
They include toilet paper in the package.
You still get the bun wad. They used to give you a pack of cigarettes and a bun wad. They call it a
No,
bun
they just
wad.
have the matches in there.
Anyway, okay. Good old days. Next up is, let me get rid of all my Costco posts. Now I'm craving a
Well-
Costco hot dog.
While you're trying to figure that out, let's see. We've got another Alan is right.
He hates that, folks.
Where we go? Oh, Gary points out that monopolies and free competition have natural economic cycles. Kind of curious to see that about actual monopolies. And Cadeas does make the valid point. I just feel the government can't fully encourage competition. In today's world with lobbyists, stop that from happening. Very good point. Gary asked us, where's Dan? Don't we always want to know? And Brian points out that he thinks that Microsoft welcomes competition. It gives their patent lawyers something to do.
Yes.
I hope
Like-
there's a. I have no idea what the legal thing is, but if that Rockstar thing, if Google wins that, and they've blown $4.5 billion, that would be epic. That would be really sweet. Okay, so are we good on the MREs, Boarheads, Kirkland, all related to Bing search engine?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so next up, Target, which taught us how not to handle a security data breach. We don't know
I
everything
don't know.
yet.
They came pretty close.
I mean, the stuff was leaking. When stuff's leaking out, and then like a day or two later, you're confirming it. When people are wondering, is my PIN safe? And they're like, well, we have not confirmed that, and there's been no evidence that any PIN's been used.
Tell the story. Tell the
Well,
story.
it's always
Dan.
better to wait and know what you're saying before you start blurting out something is not going to happen, and then it does.
True.
The industry standard.
And this isn't like
Dan,
if you
tell
guys
the-
had salmonella at your store or something, then you have to act quicker. Okay, so here's what happened. There was a security breach between November something and I think December 15th or 17th, something like that. Anybody who went to a Target store and swiped a card, that about 10 million people were impacted by this. If you shopped there during this time period, you were not impacted if you bought at Target.com. And apparently they took I don't know what they took, but now we've just discovered that it appeared to include encrypted pins, which may or may not be of any use to the hackers. And then once the thing was discovered in around, I don't know, December 20th or so, about a week ago, then there were stories the next day or so that that these credit card numbers were flooding the forums or wherever they sell these things for like $10 to $20 a piece. And you could, if you have the wherewithal, I guess you could recreate a card. You could buy something, or you could recreate a mail order and have it sent, or you could recreate a card and put that information on the magnetic strip, and then swipe it somewhere to buy something. So I guess that's how they use these. I'm not sure. So anyway, any thoughts from anyone on how do you think Target handled it?
So I mean, if Facebook would have done this, I think that would have been the kick to get them over somewhere else. But back to Target.
Can we talk about hot dogs? I'm really hungry now.
I mean, like you said, I mean, I think I want to know how this is going to impact their sales going forward. If they will, like, basically, will this be the decline of Target?
No.
You don't think so?
No, and here's why. Absolutely, that no consumer will, in the end, be monetarily affected.
Right, and that's my thing, and I've never had to deal with this type of issue with Target or any other company with my credit card. But isn't that the entire point of these protections from Visa and MasterCard and all the other major credit card companies? Is if something like this happens, you're held accountable. So what's the big deal? Like I said, I've never had to deal with the issue. But
I know,
right.
like I have probably 15 things that come out based on my debit card number every month. Domain names, king features for the newspaper, all kinds of things. I would have had I bought, and I went there on like the 21st, so I missed it just by a few days. But if I had been impacted, I would have had to contact 15 different companies and said I have to, and sometimes it's a hassle to do it. They have to fax you something.
Well, hold on.
I
mean, you call up your bank or your credit card company, you cancel the card, and then it's done. And then
but Anthony,
the card, you have to update it.
No, but Anthony,
everyone hates doing that.
Anthony, if you've got if you've got automatic withdrawals going against your cards, you need to update all of those, and that can be a pain. And that's my point is, yeah, it's going to be a minor pain. Some cases it'll be a medium pain. But honestly, in the end, nobody is going to, you are not going to lose money.
Be implemented.
You're not going to lose money. Once you get over it, you get over it, and Target's not going to have a long-term impact in terms of customers lost.
People always associate trust with the company. Is this not a perception issue where they don't now trust them less with their credit card information?
Well, let me ask you this, Michael. Are you going to shop at Target again?
I've never, to be honest, I've shopped at Target 3 times in the last 3 years, and I haven't been to Target any time lately.
So, okay, it doesn't
For multiple reasons. One is not close to me at all. There's like 3 different stores closer than Target than me. So, I mean, there's multiple reasons why I don't shop at Target, but it's not...
Okay,
but certainly this issue wouldn't impact it, is what he's asking. You certainly wouldn't be less likely to go.
If this happened at a store that you do shop at, would you stop shopping at that store?
I wouldn't.
Depending on what's available around me. I mean, if there are like 2 stores there, Kohl's and Target.
But any store, this could happen to any store. We don't know yet. Was Target negligent,
right? I mean,
or was it an inside job?
No, I didn't heard of anything on this scale.
Not on this scale, but it was, what was it, Dress Barn a year ago, 2 years ago?
Exactly. Who?
Was it Dress Barn or somebody? It was. I mean, it was a real brand and a real name, and there were a lot of cards that were compromised.
And now we don't hear of anything about them, do you?
Dress Barn?
Dress Barn's still around.
They're still around.
Who is that? I've never heard of it.
I
it's
think it's isn't it a women's store?
I was going to say, this is just a guess, Michael. You probably never shopped there.
I've never
heard of it.
What
does Dress Barn sell?
And it may not be...
Exactly.
Do they sell dresses, or is it like a general...
I think it's the wrong demographic for all of us. So.
Haberdashery?
I've never even seen one, and I've traveled a lot of places. And I've never even seen or heard of it.
I know we have them in Rochester, so...
You're in Georgia, and I'm in Virginia. We don't have no Dress Barns.
I've lived in Texas and Kansas and Chicago and Florida. I've still never heard of it.
So anyway, let's advance. I guess, yeah, I agree with you, Alan. I don't think that this would impact me. But I was like concerned. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to spend like 2 days switching all this crap because some asshole, that was going through my head. And then I missed it by just like 4 or 5 days. but I almost never go there. I mean, I like their spinach and goat cheese pizza, and that's about it. I might get a thing of grapes there, but their prices, I mean, you can't beat Walmart. And for any Walmart haters out there, I don't care. I don't give a damn. The same people work there year after year. If they didn't like it, they go somewhere else, but they pay about the same as everybody pays. And I'd rather spend $1 for a 2-liter Diet Right than $1.50 at Martin's or $2 at Food Lion. So there.
You know what? Working at Wegmans and obviously being extremely loyal to them, yeah, I'm going to shop at Walmart when, you know, it makes sense. And if I'm in there shopping for, you know, dry goods, like, you know, the more general stuff that
your
Walmart
big weekly
sells.
trip or every other week trip.
Well, and what I'm saying is, if I'm in there for other stuff and I need some groceries, then for the most part, I'll buy groceries there. I mean, maybe not certain, you know, like vegetables and maybe not meats, but you know, if I need like chocolate chips or, you know, I'm not going to buy milk because it's actually expensive at Walmart. But
yeah,
you know,
everything has their strengths. Wegmans is awesome, and I would go a lot if there was one closer to me. But I still go to Martin's, which is the higher end, the highest end store in Front Royal. I still go there for some things, but I still do my big weekly, you know, Walmart thing. I'm not going to pay. I might buy 10 Diet Right 2-liter bottles at a time. That's literally a $10 difference, just on that one item. You know what I mean?
Hey, Michael, would you still shop at Barnes and Noble?
With the online option, probably not.
No, not online, just in a store. And yet Barnes and Noble's credit card system has been compromised in the past.
Okay.
My point is that people, you know, people don't care. They don't blame the stores, especially if they're not directly, if there's no monetary loss to them.
I don't hear
Brian agrees with me.
Barnes and Noble though lately, have you?
Let's be honest, this is not going to have a lasting impact on Target. People are too conditioned in recent years to expect that they'll be compromised. Who doesn't expect this periodically anymore?
I mean, I think that this will only impact people as much as the perception of Target in general is. You know, if you don't like Target, then you're going to use this as an excuse to not shop at Target. But if you know, shop there, you know, frequently,
Nobody's not going to Target
then you're
because
going
of this.
to continue shopping there.
Nobody's going to not go to Target because of this. There are many reasons not to go to Target.
I mean,
the one here is a morgue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't shop at Target much, but this specifically isn't going to prevent me from shopping at Target.
All right.
We've got Brian asked a really good question. Why are pins being stored? That is the question that comes out today.
Isn't it, I guess, on a backbone? Well, I guess that's true. I don't know.
That is a damn good question. Why aren't they
That
just
is
in
a
some
damn good
system?
question.
I guess
It's absolutely a good question.
it's probably what they do to make the system faster. I don't know.
No, because I mean, you still have to put in your PIN, and I mean, in this day and age, even the slowest, you know.
But I mean, if you're a repeat Target shopper, I mean, having your PIN on file makes it damn quicker.
I mean, we're talking about 4 bytes.
What? No, because you still have to enter your PIN every time.
Target, you as well as I know, Target aggregates information per customer basis. The size of a unique ID per customer, what they buy. There's probably something that's also associated with that customer.
Yeah, but why are you
using the credit card?
I know why they shouldn't. I know they shouldn't. But I mean, that's probably why. A freaking developer probably just coded it that way. Oh, hey, let's just attach this to there too and called it a day.
Well, I think that's probably more likely, is that, yes, they record every single transaction, and one piece of data that happens to go past in the transaction is the encoded PIN number. They probably never look at that. They just get this chunk of data,
They just get
and
a
they
hash.
pass it on, and they happen to save it, and that's the stupid part.
And they probably
Is
have
that-
the hash saved and not the actual PIN saved, and you know,
Let's hope it's not intentional. I mean, that's.
it's laziness probably.
Yeah, I suspect that it's laziness. That it's not that they use this data. It's just that they use that, you know, they store it along with a ton of other data that they do use, and this just happens to be there.
No, I think it's because otherwise every single ATM system in the world would have to be connected to something to know your PIN.
They are.
They do!
They are.
With your
That's
PIN?
the whole freaking design of the system!
I know, but do they have it? I mean, like,
Every
then someone could hack in. So someone
you
could
don't need
hack
to
in.
store it.
Hang on. So someone could hack into an Indian ATM system and get my PIN here in Virginia?
What?
No, the point is that the PIN itself isn't sent over the line. The hash code of the PIN is sent over the wire in such a way that, at least in theory, that's unbreakable. Let's assume for the moment that it's unbreakable. We'll debate that another time.
We're totally debating something that could be looked up. This is like debating the spelling of a word instead of looking at a dictionary.
No, it's not. What I'm trying to explain to you is
Exactly
why
like that.
is the whole point of the PIN system is that every time the PIN is entered, it gets verified at the central source. And that every time the PIN is entered, the PIN itself is not sent. But an encrypted version of the PIN is sent in such a way that only the receiver, only the ultimate system, should be able to look at it, to process it. Now the question is that true? Is that how it's handled in this case? And is that PIN actually vulnerable? And actually, much more importantly, does it matter?
And probably what Target did is save that hash version and associate it with the freaking customer ID number.
Well, they probably saved the entire transaction, and that transaction includes things like, here's the name of the person, here's their unique ID, here's the card number,
the last four, and then
here's the amount, here's the security ID, which is on the back of it.
That's the wrong question. That's why they store it.
Well, they stored it because it's just this bundle with everything else.
I guess they have a record. That's why they stored it.
None of us have a clue.
What do you mean none of us have a clue? Michael and I are debating this very intelligently. Whether you have a clue or not's another story.
We both know it's laziness. We know that's the ultimate reason why.
We've got some comments on chip and pin. So, okay, let's talk chip and pin. Captain Euro, cards issued in America are usually vulnerable because they come with a magnetic strip and no microchip. No.
Debatable.
That's not why American cards are more vulnerable.
That's so stereotypical.
I mean, chip and pin has some merits to it, no doubt. But there isn't really all that much you gain by using chip and pin over using a secure terminal that's still sending the data securely.
Boy, we're going to lose people. Have you explained what the hell chip and whatever it is?
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Basically, credit cards everywhere else in the world.
Smart card.
I'm going to pee. I'll be right back.
Instead of having a mag stripe on the back, they have a chip embedded in them, and that chip can do some smart processing on its own.
I wish I could show you an example, but I can't.
Whereas a mag stripe contains, 24 bytes of information? It contains next to nothing. It's really the dumbest. It's just about as dumb as you can get. And a lot of people argue that because of the chip, and the chip can store more information, and it can do some of it more securely, that you have an inherently more secure system. And I've not been convinced of that. I'm willing to let a security expert explain to me why that's so. I'm willing to be convinced. But right now it isn't clear to me what is inherently more secure about having the chip do the encryption. And I've been looking at this since there was a Java card. Since that chip, ran a Java VM 15 years ago. So I'm looking, I'm just not convinced. Do I think that they need to upgrade to a more modern system? Yes. Do I think that RFID and microchips are going to be the silver bullet to the problem? No, I don't. And, Dan was so convinced that I was going to put people to sleep, he decided to walk off the screen. Okay, so this comment from Brian, I don't think it matters in what manner it's stored, it should be discarded. And I think both Michael and I would agree with you there. I think what we think happened, though, is that they just recorded the entire transaction without looking at what the individual bits in that transaction were.
And exactly all of the different pieces of the transaction they actually needed to keep.
Right.
You just keep everything.
And I think what everyone's kind of missing, though, is how critical is it that the PIN was stored? even if the pin can be
Perception.
even if the pin can be compromised.
Perception.
Yeah, it's only perception. It's really a big so what.
Because I haven't heard any evidence that one's been used, that a pin's been used.
Well, and
Or
that's
their
the
cards.
thing.
I don't know if any cards have been used.
For the most part, people can still use the card as a credit card without the pin and get away with it. That's one thing, by the way, that the chip and pin does solve, is that even for credit cards, you need to use a pin. But that's procedural, that's not technical. It also probably doesn't help all that much in a lot of ways. And the reason why it doesn't help all that much in a lot of ways is because people choose stupid pins. So if I have 10,000 credit card numbers, I can almost guarantee you I will find at least one, probably more than one, at least one has the pin 1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, maybe the pin needs to be alphanumeric now. I mean, maybe that make it harder. I don't know.
It'll also make it harder to use, though. And
know,
actually, it won't make it harder.
True.
It won't. It'll make it easier to reverse engineer, because you know how many people are going to use the name of their spouse.
I said alphanumeric.
It's still not going to help all that.
1AAA.
Yeah, people are going to use ABCD1. Really, it's not.
Better than 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, it's not better than 1, 2. It's not significantly better than 1, 2. There was. Maybe I should go find this. Somebody did a study. There was a compromise at one point.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the study.
There was a compromise at one point of a bunch of pins, and he did a study on it, and it's amazing how they cluster. They really cluster around 1, 2, 3, 4. I think 9876 was another popular one.
4 zeros.
I think 4 zeros weren't popular, but only because so many places didn't allow that. But otherwise, yes. Ones that were popular birthdays were more popular. I mean, it's really obvious what some of them cluster around.
Yep.
And I should go see if I can find. I may have actually posted it on Google Plus at one point, once upon a time. So yeah, let's be honest. Having the pin compromised, so what? It really is not going to make a big deal. It really doesn't make too much of a difference. And Dan, get back so we can move on to the next topic already.
All right. All right. So next up, hi everyone. Next up is the second, or I guess actually not second part of that story, but should the next two topics be one topic or separate topics, Alan?
Yeah.
Okay. Up or down, sir? Why not? Okay. So UPS and FedEx.
Oh, they're the same topic.
That and the e-commerce thing. So are they kind of the same topic?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, let's start with UPS and FedEx. What are your thoughts? We'll just advance it with the second topic. UPS and FedEx, there was apparently a spike. Some people didn't get their stuff on time and for Christmas Eve, and there were, upset little kids or whatever. And I don't have a little kid who was screaming on Christmas Day, so I can't empathize with that, but I can understand that would be frustrating. And they blamed it on. UPS just said it overwhelmed their capacity. It was a combination of a spike in volume that they had not anticipated. It was a storm. There were problems in Dallas, and there were some ice storms that impacted stuff. I think the last time UPS had any significant situation like this was in 2004, so this is not a common occurrence. And my view is that sucks. It'll be interesting to see how much more commerce there was and stuff like that. But basically, I don't care what they promise. If you order something overnight on the 22nd of December or 23rd of December, you are taking a gamble. And if I think they should just move the deadlines back and be realistic and say, look, if you want it guaranteed overnight is maybe, but maybe not. And if it's not, we'll give you a discount or something like that. Because the people who are impacted by this, but in large part, are the procrastinators who wait till the last minute. Now, not everybody. There could be whatever, maybe a big sale happened and you wanted to get it and you want to add it to the Christmas thing. And that's totally cool. But in large part, it's procrastinators. And procrastinators, I am one, so I can say this. I can tell short jokes too. and Irish jokes. The procrastinators react to deadlines. They are deadline oriented, and if you just move the deadlines, then they'll react to the new deadline. In my opinion,
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you slightly, very slightly.
This is rare for disagreement between me and Alan.
I know, and the reason why I disagree is, yes, in some level it's procrastination, but in another level, the way a lot of industries and people are setting things up these days is in terms of just-in-time delivery. We've got this big notion, and the computer companies are big at it. Amazon relies on it. Every major company relies on the fact that you will have something delivered to the exact thing that you want in the exact quantity that you want, delivered to you in the exact place that you want, at the exact time that you want.
And when they do that, it's great because it's good for the consumer, because you can order. I mean, I think they said their last thing was, well, we'll get into that, but like at 10 p.m., someone ordered something and got it the next day from Amazon. But the thing is, hang on one second, Anthony, and they'll go to you. But the thing is that just-in-time inventory system was one of Walmart's keys to success in keeping costs down. Not only does it reduce their inventory cost, but it also lets them have smaller warehouses than they would otherwise have to have. Go ahead, Anthony.
Well, and I think to extend on Aaron's point, or just continue on his point, when Amazon sends something out, like a movie that's supposed to come out on Tuesday, Amazon sends it out on Monday, so it arrives on Tuesday, so that I get it on the same day as if I went to Walmart to pick it up.
Right, and they've got arrangements. In fact, they don't send it out on that day. They've probably sent it out far earlier, and it's pre-deployed in FedEx. So FedEx has it waiting in the delivery, at the last stage, ready to be delivered the last day.
They've gotten really good at this.
Okay.
But, and I think the big thing though is set the deadlines as FedEx and UPS sees fit. But if they say that you can place your order at 10 p.m. the day before, or whatever the deadline may be, whether it's 12 hours before or 7 days before, they need to meet that deadline, because they've told you that you pay us $5 to ship it, and we will get it to you by this specific time. And that's the thing. It's not that they said we can do it a day before Christmas. If they said 7 days before Christmas is the cutoff date, then that's that. But
here's the thing. A few years back, I think it was the Postal Service made a big deal about the fact that they were delivering on Christmas Eve, which was a Saturday, and nobody else was. Maybe it was, and that was a big deal. And they did it. You didn't hear complaints at that time that they claimed something and they didn't deliver. People complain about the post office all the time, and they didn't complain about this. I find it remarkable, in fact, that in the middle of complaining about UPS and FedEx, that nobody's complaining about the post office.
Oh, please, where do you begin? That's a whole nother show. They complain that they don't have enough mail volume to survive, but they can't deliver a freaking, I don't even want to get into that.
And yet nobody is saying that the post office didn't deliver its stuff on time.
I don't know if they did or not.
They never tell you when they're going to deliver it.
Sure they do.
BS.
If it
You
fits.
They tell you exactly.
If you don't get a tracking number and a freaking confirmation number, you don't know when nothing's going to arrive.
You get tracking and confirmation numbers for everything except for snail mail these days.
If I send a letter out to my freaking thing and I don't get, I just send it out through the postal, I don't know when that thing's going to arrive.
Sure, but if
and
you
even standard first class has a...
What?
If you send a package these days, you do. If you send it express or priority or whatever they've renamed them, you get a tracking number and you get a guaranteed delivery date.
Okay.
Basically, if you're going with the same service with USPS that you can with FedEx or UPS, they give you the guaranteed delivery. They give you the tracking. post office has stepped up their game in response to, what's that word again? Competition.
This is all going to be moot once the Amazon Air drones.
Never.
Can you imagine the first time they wipe day one, they'll wipe out like 50 eagles or something, and it'll just be PETA will be up in arms.
Day one, they'll get shot out the sky.
You couldn't actually bring this up when we actually talked about this subject, Dan?
No,
I think so. All right, so part 2 of this issue is, I think my story is the actual story. My post is. This gets to e-commerce because they said there was a spike in e-commerce. And so, was there? And I'm going to pause the feed because I'm getting some weird behavior here. Okay, so if we look at this chart I posted here, where is it? Let me find it. I'll pull it up here. My computer's acting slow. So here is from the U.S. Census Bureau. Here's an estimated quarterly U.S. retail e-commerce sales as a % of total quarterly retail sales. I was surprised at how low it is and how consistently it has grown. You see in 2004, it was right around 2%, and it's pretty much, you could draw a line. It's you know, obviously there's a spike every fourth quarter, and then it drops. But you can see it's a little bit of an uptick here, but not dramatically so. So I'll be curious to see if there was, for the first time since 2004, an unpredictable, dramatic spike in online ordering, because it would be the first time since 2004. That surprised me, and I'm surprised that it is only like it was in 2011. The Christmas peak was about 5%. In 2012, it was 5.6%. In 2013, or I guess at the end of 2012, it was what, 6.2%. So you're seeing it's still just a sliver, really, of overall retail. Now, some things don't lend themselves to retail right now, like eggs and milk, and people like to try on clothes, and of course gasoline and stuff is counted in this. Obviously Amazon's not going to, you know, fill your gas tank, so that will never be, or at least in the short term. I mean, who knows, electric cars and stuff, but generally right now that's not foreseeable. But a lot of the commodity products, Kindle books or your physical books, your, you know, groceries, I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you surprised that it's only about 6% of total retail is online? And do you think that it's like on the cusp of a more dramatic increase? Anyone?
I don't know.
It could be.
I shrugged. Michael shrugged. Anthony, you're actually in retail. What do you think?
I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that online, that e-commerce, Anthony, buying cheese from Amazon or what have you versus going into a Wegmans, that the total e-commerce sales, Amazon, all the e-commerce, is only about 6% of total retail?
Here's actually what I would like.
There's not much of that kind of e-commerce, as far as if you're talking about grocery.
I mean, general retail. We're talking everything. Walmart.
But, I mean, that depends on metrics. Are they measuring that against the person that would go in their grocery store?
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm not surprised. I like to buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, but I would say that I spend 90% of my time in physical stores.
Here's what I'm most curious to see is how Amazon's sales compare to something like Costco's sales. Because that's really kind of, I mean, they're kind of comparable. Not perfectly so, but kind of comparable.
Why?
Because if Costco's only doing 6%, then it's not a big deal. If Amazon's only doing 6%.
Yeah. Well, that's why. But the comparability is basically the kind of goods that they sell, and the bulk nature of the goods that they sell is about the same. You're not, for example, going to get 2 bananas delivered to you from Amazon, but you might get a box of bananas delivered to you from Amazon.
Yeah.
You're not going to get 2 rolls of toilet paper from Amazon, but you will get the deluxe size.
I'd order toilet paper before I order bananas.
Okay, fine. Use the toilet paper comparison. My point is still, you're not going to get you're not going to get 1 roll of toilet paper from Amazon.
I mean, it depends. I mean, Amazon tried their little subscription model where, I mean, you get toilet paper every so often for so much money, whereas in Costco, you got to buy in bulk, and now you got to find a place to put it.
Well, but you're still getting it in bulk from Amazon. You're not getting 1 roll of toilet paper every week.
I mean, you would get like a pack every week or a pack every month. They have their, subscription.
Right. But even that subscription was you're essentially getting bulk.
No.
Yeah.
But except you don't have to physically store all of it when you buy
you did. Yeah, you were being shipped bulk items. They weren't shipping you 1 box of cereal.
Okay, I can give you these numbers. Amazon, I don't think they're breaking it out. Remember, Amazon is not just buying a Kindle book or a Kindle Fire.
Well, but remember,
it's also the Amazon Web Services.
But okay.
Right? So there's other things that are not really in the mix here, but I don't think that they're breaking that out. But for looking at Market Watch, it says Costco's bigger, 61 billion. Now they're experiencing phenomenal growth. The sales growth, I'm looking here, and they've gone from in 08 about 20 billion to 24 billion 09, 34 in 2010. So they're experiencing growth in the high 20s up to 40%. And their current the sales revenue was 61 billion. Now I assume includes Amazon Web Services, which is a huge business, and they run Netflix, for example. They're the backbone for Netflix, so that's a chunk of change. I don't know if it's in here. I'm assuming it's not, but I could be wrong. You guys watching often could correct us on this.
Dan,
Costco is 105 billion in 20.
Before you continue, we got this question from Brian. In the chart that you showed before, he's not sure, is that the volume of sales or is that the value of sales? Because if it's value, he can totally see 6% is reasonable.
Let me go back here. I'm looking at, this is from Market Watch. I just Googled.
So I guess the question is it total number of transactions or is it the total value of the transactions?
Oh, it's the sales revenue. It's the money that they did $61 billion in 2012. Costco did 99 billion, and that would have been almost all the goods is sold. Costco does about 2 million. Costco makes all their money on the membership fees. They give the products away. The products, I think last year they did 2 billion. And they made about a little less, like I think it was 1.8 billion in gross profit or net profit, and their income, they made $2 billion in net profit last year, and they made 1.7 billion in membership fees, or vice versa. But basically, the membership fees are about what their profit is. So they basically sell everything at cost. I mean, they pay for the employees and the rent, and all that stuff. But basically, Costco, if you're buying something for $8.99 or whatever it is, that's kind of what it costs them to do it, and they make their money from that $50 a year or $100 a year, whatever it is, membership fees. And so Costco's bigger, significant, about twice the size this year. So there. But Amazon's growing like crazy. And to be sure, from 04 till now, they've had a 200% increase in e-commerce. But that still only results, they're only going from 2% to 6% of the total pie. And there is a hard ceiling. Like I said, eggs, milk. A lot of people like to try on clothes. A lot of things you're not going to buy online. So there. Any other thoughts on this topic, which I thought would be more interesting than apparently it is? Okie doke. So, epic fail there. All right, next is... I wanted to see if Pam could address this, because she lives in California, but she's 600 miles away. Alan, you've been to Google. I think she's... the basic story here is protesters blocked Silicon Valley shuttles, smashed a Google bus window. I think they had an Apple bus recently, and another Google bus before that. I guess their beef is there's a small and a big picture. The small picture is often that apparently they're using the buses without paying, or the bus stops aren't paying the city to use, the bus system isn't paying the city to use the bus stops or something. And Silicon Valley is basically a gold rush in San Francisco, and all these guys are coming in there, and like an intern at Google makes 80, 90 grand a year. An intern, the engineers are making six figures. And so I think in San Francisco, Pam looked it up, the average home is like millions of dollars, the average home cost.
The average apartment rental is ridiculously high. And it's grown, I mean, it's skyrocketed just in the past few years. The fundamental problem the protesters are protesting is essentially there is extreme gentrification going on. And the affordable housing in San Francisco has really hit a crisis point, such that there is no such thing as affordable housing anymore.
Are there any like low-income people living in San Francisco? Like in DC, there are parts of DC, right?
There are. San Francisco also, I think, has one of the biggest homeless problems that I've seen just about anywhere, maybe except for New York City. They have a tremendous homeless problem. They have a tremendous, I won't say a problem, but they have a tremendous number of low-income people in the city itself. And part of that is they've got a great mass transit system, so you don't actually need to drive through the city, which is good because it's really tough to drive through the city. And there's a tremendous need for lower-income workers there as well, but there's no place for them to live. And where there is a place for them to live, there's no way for them to get to their jobs. So it's a massive problem. And what the criticism is that the tech companies are making the problem worse in two ways. First is that they're providing outrageously high salaries, relatively speaking. And these people want to live in San Francisco. And then in order to enable this, they are supplementing the mass transit system privately to enable them to do so. So if Google and Apple and all of the tech companies weren't providing their own private mass transit system, the argument is there would be less of an incentive for these people to actually live in the city because they wouldn't want to spend an hour or more driving. And there's some merit to that argument, but it's a fiercely complicated discussion.
You say outrageously high salary. Go ahead, Pam.
The average home is $900,000. That's the average home. So that's outrageous. Just a home like mine would be way over $1 million, and that's crazy.
My understanding.
The median rent is about $3,400 a month, which is about $1,000 more than my mortgage, my property taxes, and my homeowner's insurance put together.
Right, and that average went up. What was it? 25% over the past year? 50%?
It went up 170% over the last 3 years.
So it's getting much better.
No, and part of the problem is that there was a law in, I think it was passed in the 80s, late 80s.
Probably, that sounds about right.
Called the Ellis Act, which allows landlords to basically go bankrupt if they are under rent control. And so basically they evict all their tenants and go bankrupt, and then the building is either sold to another landlord or it's converted to condos. So basically the low-income families that the city actually needs to survive. Okay, no one is going to be making $100,000 and cleaning your hotel room
or selling your burger.
That's right.
And so those guys are going to have to drive an hour to get to their McDonald's job.
And the problem is that, you know, because Google and Apple and Facebook, they're all right there too, are subsidizing or providing this free transit, then supply and demand or whatever, and the low-income people have to pay a higher bus fare because they're not having to, or they don't have enough passengers. You know what I mean? So it really is complicated. It's a pretty bad situation, and I really don't see the end to it unless for some reason Google, Facebook, and Apple decide to leave San Francisco.
Well, but
and all the biotech there too. There's tons of biotech there. The average salary for your run-of-the-mill research scientist is about a little over $100,000.
And here's the thing, Pam.
No?
None of them are actually in San Francisco.
Well, Palo Alto is pretty close.
I mean, but that's it. They're all pretty close. But from San Francisco itself, it's at least a 30-minute drive, if not an hour drive.
Yeah, it's 30 minutes if there were no traffic. Yeah. I guess.
I mean, it's you know, so in.
But in California, we're used to driving that. I mean, that's nothing. I drive 25 minutes, and I only live 15 miles away, you know, from my job. So
these people can't possibly think that if Google and Apple and any other company started paying fair market value for those bus stops, that it would fix any issue.
The bus stops are a really minor aspect of the whole thing.
It's what they're protesting is the tech provided perks, so to speak, that basically allow these guys making 75, 80 grand a year to afford to pay the rent because they don't have to pay for their dry cleaning, they don't have to pay for their food, they don't have to pay for their bus, they don't have, you know, they subsidize public transit, and like at Google, you can plug in your electric car for free. So, it
all seems
you can find
very,
a parking spot.
Yeah.
It all
if
seems.
You can find a parking spot.
It all seems very blaming someone that isn't to blame. Alternatively, Google could take away the perks and increase the pay, and you'd have the same issues.
Well, no, but here's the thing, though, Anthony. If Google took away the perk and left the pay the same.
No, increase pay, take away perks.
Even if you increase your pay pretty modestly, because it's not like Google's paying a lot for this. They're paying some, but not a lot. Even so, people would want to live in San Francisco a lot less than they do. They'd find a different location to live that's closer and more convenient to Google.
I was going to say, yeah, that the Palo Alto, you know, there are a lot of a lot of San Francisco's water, but just across the water from Palo Alto are plenty of nice little neighborhoods or whatever. But again, you know, what you're talking $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 to live in these homes, and if Google didn't buy all your food and do your dry cleaning for you and all this other stuff, then you couldn't afford to live in Palo Alto either.
This is the outside looking in.
I just want to point out one thing, Pam. For the most part, you don't see a lot of Google employees dry cleaning their T-shirts.
Well, it's all competition, though. It's free market. They're all there. They're all in San Francisco area, the Silicon Valley, because that's where the venture capitalists are. That's where the experts are. That's where you can steal other employees from other companies. That's the place to be.
And don't forget, biotech is there too. So
Absolutely.
it's not just the tech science. It's the biological sciences are there as well.
Just like the
It is
unions,
highly
will,
concentrated.
the visible, but that biotech is not as sexy. They're not household names by and large. So they're gonna,
Not
just like the
today,
unions will protest at a
they will be.
McDonald's or a Walmart, even though those places are paying the same that other fast food and other big box retailers pay. They pick on those because that's how you get news. Because everyone knows about a Walmart, but Dress Barn, not everyone knows about, so they're not protesting there. So
This is me on the outside looking in. It seems like a local government issue from my standpoint, because
Well, the Ellis Act is not local. It's a California law. It just happens to be that the rent control.
but the issue is legislative. That's
The
just
rent
my
control,
point.
the rent control in Los Angeles. The landlord's doing this in Los Angeles as
The issue,
well.
though, is legislative. That's my point.
No, absolutely. I think
But
that,
so what-
that the protesters are a little misguided as
Exactly.
to who to blame. But then again, how many times have you looked through the stream, your Google Plus stream, and seeing someone blame something that you're like, yeah, no, you don't get it. I mean, it happens all the time, So I think they're.
I'll agree that it's largely legislative, but again, I'd point out that if Google didn't offer this,
That's irrelevant.
if Google and the other ones didn't offer this,
Still irrelevant.
then they wouldn't want to live in San Francisco itself.
I don't think that it's
Combination of things.
it's
It's
not a
irrelevant.
Google issue. It's not a San Francisco issue. It's a national issue.
That's not
and,
an issue.
and yeah, it is a national
It is a national issue.
And San Francisco is a rich city.
I
New York
are-
City is a rich city. So I mean,
Oh yeah.
what I should say is
Look at
these cities
look at
have
New York.
rich populations, and so it's going to become a bigger issue in San Francisco where you have these rich populations. But it's not, yeah, Google's the one that's there, but it's Silicon Valley that's creating the
A
issue.
regional issue.
And
Yeah,
no, but
exactly.
don't
It's not a national issue.
It is a national issue. It's an issue in Rochester, and Rochester's not rich. It's the fifth poorest city in the country, apparently.
Regional.
Anthony is absolutely correct that I don't know if you've noticed or know what the average rent is in downtown Manhattan, but it's unbelievably outrageous. I mean, way higher than San Francisco. So it is not.
where do the workers
just
live? I mean,
San
where
Francisco.
do the
hang on
where do-
a second. Hang on, Dan. Let me reply to that one. The difference between San Francisco and New York, though, is that New York has most of its most of its businesses in Manhattan, and so while yes, the Manhattan real estate has gotten ridiculously expensive, it's relatively easy to commute from outside of Manhattan into Manhattan. The system was set up that way. In Silicon Valley, it's exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
It's
You can live in San Jose.
Well,
Right.
they did set up their commuting system to affect that, to change it the way that it works for that area.
Or you can live in Oakland as long as you don't mind going to work with a flak jacket. I mean,
well,
Google's
I mean,
responsibility is
the
is to Google's employees. It's not to the non-Google employees. Why can't the city
so
figure this out?
I think that's a little naive. I think that community outreach and community, what do you call it? What's that feel good word? Matters. You want to be a good community steward.
It's not Google's responsibility to house the people of San Francisco.
No, it's not. But
It's also not Google's fault for providing all of these things. And if you're saying that to not providing these things will make anything any different, I don't think so.
There's a big draw. You know what would happen? I'll tell you what, Pam.
I tell you what, if people quit buying homes and quit renting there, the prices will go down. So it is demand. It is supply and demand. And unfortunately, San Francisco is a very small. San Francisco proper is a very small city geographically, and there's just no place. I mean, you know, Alan's been there. There's really no other place to build unless you know, go out to the suburbs.
The city has to
maybe
figure out
the
how-
Hyperloop is the key.
And you know, here's the topper to all that, right? The San Andreas Fault goes right through there.
So you can't even build up.
And right, you can't build up, and the chances of your $1 million home being completely devastated by an earthquake is greater in San Francisco than anywhere in the United States.
I mean, where I live is something is totally different to where I live because Augusta is such a historical place, being one of the 13 colonies, all this other crap, where we can't build up downtown to bring in a lot of businesses and skyscrapers and that. So it filters out to surrounding cities where they get all the businesses and they get everything. But luckily, it works here because the Masters itself provides literally 70% of all the income for the year for the city, whereas there aren't any other businesses and other things to make the housing market higher in my city.
Right,
Whereas
Michael.
it's totally opposite where you're all saying out west, but I'm saying each local government or each regional area have to figure out how to implement that way to work best with what's surrounding them.
The problem is San Francisco had worked that out at one point. You know, like with most cities, its major concentration originally was in the center of San Francisco, and everybody would commute out into the city. The problem is as Silicon Valley grew more popular, the targets got
And the
more spread out.
infrastructure didn't change, and the infrastructure didn't change with
The
it.
infrastructure can't change is the problem. Is that once you start getting a high density, it gets really difficult to create new roads. It gets really, really difficult to create new mass transit systems.
So where's all the money going to? Just support regular operations day to day?
The money's going to keep up as best they can. I mean, they've got a massive network of roads there that mostly parallels the old roads because you can't build tremendously new roads, so you create 8-lane, 12-lane highways where there used to be 6-lane highways before.
So would a fix be taxing the, enterprises more, or create a tax for the enterprise to it's more of payback to the city?
The problem,
nothing can be done. That's
Michael,
all.
the problem is it's not a matter of tapping resources. It's not a matter of tapping monetary resources. It turns into a matter that there's no place to build.
And that's what I'm saying, though, that this issue is not a national issue, it's a regional issue.
No, it's a national issue because everyone is dealing with similar problems in different ways.
In different ways. So there's no national thing that can fix it all. That's what I'm saying. It has to be.
I'll grant that point, but I think that a lot of places, however, everyone is dealing with the same sorts of issues.
Sure, in different ways.
A lot of them are trying to ignore the issue rather than solve the issue.
Agreed.
Atlanta is another good example of a place that started spreading out, and it's spreading out and out and out.
Yeah, you got to commute into Atlanta to work.
Right, you've got to commute into Atlanta, and that's a serious problem. There's no good way to commute into Atlanta, and there's no good. The places where it's affordable are further out, but there's no affordable way to get into the center where the jobs are, and where where those people are needed. So there's no way to get them out there. Even New York City does still have this problem. Affordable housing in New York City is a big problem, and they have a relatively good transportation infrastructure in place.
I agree with all that. I just don't think there's a national fix to it. I think it has to be done at a lower level.
No, I'll agree. There's no national fix, but it is a national problem.
Right. It's look. Yeah, if you're in technology, you got to be there. If you're in industry, Wall Street, you got to be near Wall Street, right? If you're a big law firm, you got to be in New York or you got to be in D.C. Or at least have an office there, because the federal government's in one place and the financial capital really of the world is in New York City. So there's a demand for property there.
Stop. The problem isn't you need to have these people in those industries there. The problem is you need to also have the guy that's making your coffee at Starbucks there.
True.
And that person can't afford to live there.
I understand what you're saying. I'm saying that but it's it's not like evil Google, evil Apple. It's just like there's competition for employees, which is the reason they make so much money and they get all these perks because they can work at Facebook or Google or Apple. So that that happens. It's the same thing in D.C. and Fairfax County, about the richest county in the United States. Housing's crazy high because it's outside of D.C., which is the government capital of the country.
Right, but here,
I don't know what the solution
hang on.
is.
Michael, let me just reply to Dan. The problem is, they're not saying that it's Google's fault for bringing in high salaries into the area and bringing money into the area. That's not what they're saying. What they're saying is that that Google has essentially pushed the low-income people out.
But you're saying, and this is my point. I think we're saying sort of similar to the same thing. But yes, it's happening over the nation. Yes, at that point, it's a national issue. Sure, I think though the fix to it has to happen at a lower level than national. That's my
point. Oh, sure. It has to be, because each city's different. The answer, obviously, is they need to find a big piece of land and build a bunch of low-income housing, I guess.
There's no such thing as a big piece of land.
It may not be in the city. I mean, I'm sorry, but what are you going to do? You going to kick them all out? There's a demand, just like there's a demand for employees, there's a demand for that apartment. And if there's a line wrapped around my building to get the apartment, I'm going to charge more. That's what's happened.
Dan, that's it, though. You're just saying, what are you going to do? Kick the people out? Yes, that's what they just did. That's the problem. Is that they're kicking the low-income people out of San Francisco.
I think a short-term fix would be charging more for the enterprise, pushing them out. But again, that would be the detriment because then no one would want to come to the city no more. I mean, it's almost like
I gotta tell you, the property owner has a right to make money, just like everybody else does. And this may sound heartless, but if you have, let's say a bunch of thrift shops, and you're making $600 a month from them, and I want to tear that thing down, I want to build a big shopping mall, and I can make more money. I own the property. I have the right to do that. And I'm sorry for the thrift shop owners, but why should I make $3,000 a month if I could make $300,000 a month?
If you really want to start getting into zoning issues, we can get into zoning issues.
I don't know the specifics.
Really I don't know.
I'm not an expert on zoning or the specifics. I'm just saying in general, it's a business. It's not a philanthropy. And
which is why I don't think Google changing any of the benefits or anything will change anything.
The answer is there's a lot of water there, so we got to get Google to do some of the barges and put people on them. They'll be earthquake proof. And we can build low-income housing out of town, and Elon Musk can run a Hyperloop into San Francisco, and then everyone's happy, and they're not destroying the Google buses. I mean, I don't know, where do they live, Alan? Like when you go to a McDonald's or whatever in New York City or San Francisco, where do these folks live?
Well,
I mean, you can't drive an hour back and forth for minimum wage, or I don't know. I mean, I imagine they're making more than that there, but
not much. Honestly, not much.
I mean, is it 20 people living in a house together to make it work, or what do they do?
In New York City, you have the advantage that you've got mass transit systems that are relatively affordable, relatively being an operative word, so that people can live in places like the Bronx and Queens and Staten Island, God forbid. You don't have those people living in Manhattan itself. You've got them living in tiny, cramped, or even worse, living in New Jersey. You've got them living in tiny, cramped, illegal warehouse conversions in various other parts of the city. In San Francisco, you're not having that as much, simply because they're being pushed out. And I honestly don't know where they're living these days. And that's the problem.
The other thing is, if you do build it, it's like widening a railroad. I mean, I'm sorry, widening a highway. If you do that, a lot of people, oh, great, there's a wider highway now, we can build more. And then they fill the new one up. And if you built a huge thing of lower income housing, fixed in or whatever, then that would fill up immediately. And there would just be more people trying to get in, right? Because that's the gold mine. It's the gold rush in San Francisco, just like in D.C., just like in Manhattan. The more they're going to fill them up.
Stop. I want to answer you. I want to agree with you. Yes, that's absolutely the problem. But that's also true for the Google buses, the Apple buses. because Google and Apple are providing those buses, people are saying, oh, hey, since the buses are there, I can use them and I can live in the middle of San Francisco instead of living out, closer to Mountain View, because it's there.
Now,
so I can take advantage of it.
In Kirkland, they're expanding the campus, and I think, aren't they building actual housing, or is that Facebook, or both?
I think it was Facebook was building housing near their campus in San Francisco to try to address some of these issues.
Okay, so that's...
Would that make it worse? Would that make it worse?
I don't know.
They could do like Disney and just literally create their own municipality.
Well, yeah.
Well, I think what
exactly. I mean, why don't they do that?
Yeah,
I think what Facebook is actually doing in this case is, although they are building a housing facility, they're building an apartment building, but they've also committed to making a sizable portion of it available to low-income tenants.
Oh.
So it's not just for Facebook employees, although it's intended for, that's part of why it's there, is for Facebook employees. It's not just for them. They're also trying to use it to address the low-income situation. As for running your own municipality, we can discuss the Florida project another time, because that, again, gets into zoning.
When is the first company going to make their own island and have their own country?
I'm not even talking about, the company so much doing this as, what is it, a town or is it a city? Anyways.
Can we ask Sreek? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Anthony. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, why doesn't the city just build up?
Apparently they can't, because Pam was saying there's not a lot of room.
I don't mean in San Francisco. I mean where Google and Apple are. Why don't those cities? It's actually just one city, right?
Sure. That's a good question. Why doesn't Mountain View allow more of this? And I think the answer, at least partially, is because Mountain View would rather the industry paying taxes than a homeowner paying taxes.
Well, I mean, obviously the solution is Wegmans just needs to move to Mountain View and everything will be okie dokie.
And you're willing to open the store there?
We just need to build 10 distribution centers across the country first.
That's a good point that Alan makes, that there's not, I mean, the incentive, San Francisco government would frankly be better off if the low-income folks lived outside of the city of San Francisco and commuted in, because if they build a bunch of low-income housing, and they certainly, if they tore down expensive real estate and put that on there, they're not going to make as much money. They wouldn't have as many resources. If you just want to look at cold and calculatedly. Speaking of cold and calculated, Sreek joins us now. What do you think? We're discussing the folks who are protesting in San Francisco and that sort of thing, and they're all upset. I can understand why, because the average house is $900,000, and they can't live there. So I'm curious, because you work in Manhattan at an undisclosed firm. So tell me, when you go to get a burger or a sub or a shoe shine or whatever it is, because you're right in the heart of that rich area, everyone around you is making six figures. Where do those guys live?
I would just point out, by the way, that Sreek does not live in Manhattan.
Because he can't afford to, probably.
Because he can't afford it.
He lives in a...
Absolutely.
He lives with 30 other Indians in a apartment. No, tell us, seriously, where do those guys... Because, I mean, what are they making? 8, 9, 10, 11 an hour at McDonald's? I have no idea. In New York City? Right? I mean, talking Wall Street, freaking Manhattan, right? Where do those guys live? They can't be driving 2 hours back and forth. How does that work?
That's why Manhattan has a very good subway system, right? You can take an hour's ride on subway, and you can go to extremes of Manhattan, like Long Island, or wherever you want to. It is going to be very difficult for people who actually work for $9-10 an hour in Manhattan to actually live in freaking Manhattan. I don't freaking live in Manhattan. To live in Manhattan with a family, with 2 kids and a wife.
But how much does the subway cost? How far out would most of them live? Would an hour be average, and what would it cost to ride the subway every day for an hour? I assume you can get like a monthly pass.
For $1.50, for $1.25, you can live as far as 40-50 miles from Manhattan.
Oh, that's ridiculously cheap.
Sounds like Brand needs one of those.
That's not as cheap as the Google bus, but close.
Yeah, but I'm saying the subway system has like what, I mean, Alan probably can comment on this more. 300 stops.
Yeah, they didn't believe me when I told them. But yeah, I mean, the New York City,
It's the largest freaking subway system in the world.
the New York subway system truly is amazing.
It's absolutely amazing.
And considering that it's supplemented by commuter systems for Long Island and parts north of New York, at higher than $1.50.
How safe is it? How reliable is it?
There are five train systems that start from Manhattan. One is the NJ Transit, which actually crosses the Hudson River and goes into New Jersey. Which
we don't talk about you guys.
Okay, I know. So, and then we have the MTA, which is the subway system, which goes into the 5 different boroughs in Manhattan. We have the Long Island Railroad, which goes all the way to Long Island, and then we have Amtrak, which is long distance, obviously. And then we also have, what's the other one? Metro-North, which goes to probably north of New York.
Yeah, so, Metro North, which serves the above the Bronx.
Right. So there are 5 different train systems. Manhattan is crazy, but it doesn't matter that you're working in Manhattan. To actually live in Manhattan, to have an apartment, or whatever it is, you got to be actually making more money than you can imagine.
And it's worth noting, actually, that to get anywhere else is actually pretty difficult.
Right. But here's one more point. Here's one more point. You can actually live in Manhattan in a pretty decent, I don't know, single bedroom. What is it called? Not even a bedroom. I forgot the name of the place.
A studio.
A studio, yeah. A studio.
And they're actually looking to pass legislation to essentially let you live in a closet.
Right. I saw that one too. So if you're single and you really don't have anybody else depending on you, you can afford to live in a studio if you have a decent job. But if you have a family, I don't know how people live in Manhattan. It's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult. It depends on where in Manhattan, obviously. But even then, if you're in Midtown or I don't know, what's that place? Meatpacking or even.
Meatpacking district is trendy these days. That's now Chelsea.
Yeah,
that's trendy, so it's expensive there.
Right. Yeah, anywhere between Midtown and downtown, it's very, very, very difficult.
For the record, just to give some people reference, Google is located in the Meatpacking district.
Okay. Yeah.
Just to give you an idea on how trendy it is.
Brad, are you there?
You're muted if you are.
Yeah, Brad, unmute yourself. I was going to ask him what it's like in Australia, if there's a similar situation there.
Brad is in Melbourne, right?
Yeah, Melbourne. I'm in Melbourne.
Yeah, so we're discussing the problem in San Francisco and in other cities across the country. Anytime you have, a bunch of really well-to-do companies that gather there, that they tend to drive up the cost of living, and folks can't live in town anymore. And then if you're in New York, you're lucky, as Sreek said, it's like $1.50. You can go 50 miles in the subway every day. That's great. Yeah. But not every city can do that.
Same here in Melbourne.
What's the deal in Australia?
Yeah, it's same situation. Everywhere's a deal. It depends where you go.
But I don't think we can compare San Francisco with New York City, right?
San Francisco is like Melbourne.
Probably, but I'm saying you can't compare San Francisco. I've been to San Francisco, and I think it's a much smaller urban area as opposed to New York City. But if you are actually talking about including San Jose or Santa Clara or Cupertino,
roughly, I have not looked at the land area, to be honest, but roughly, I think you can compare San Francisco to Manhattan. The difference is that most of the high-priced companies in the Bay Area are outside of San Francisco itself.
That's what I was trying to say.
Whereas in New York, most of the high-priced industries are in Manhattan. Everybody tries to go to Manhattan during the day. The commute pattern, not exclusively, but it generally is everyone goes to Manhattan in the morning and leaves Manhattan at night.
Absolutely, that's my point. In San Francisco, it doesn't happen that way.
No.
Yeah, that's the point.
And that's kind of the issue that is causing part of this problem, is that people want to live in San Francisco because it's cool and trendy to live in San Francisco, and that's driving up the price of San Francisco itself.
Considering the Ghirardelli chocolates, I don't disagree.
You just want to live on Ghirardelli Hill, is that the deal?
I'm sorry, what's that again?
You just want to live on Ghirardelli
Yeah,
Hill. Is that the issue? Okay.
yes.
All right, so this is not a this.
I love San Francisco. I'm a New Yorker, more or less, but I love San Francisco. It's beautiful.
This is a problem decades in the making, and you know, it's not cured overnight. And these guys are making their voices heard. They're at the wrong target, but typically guys who hold street signs and yell and scream at a bus are not normally folks you could sit and have a rational conversation with, I would assume.
Sure you can.
Well, okay. All right, next. Are we good on this? Okay. Next, we lost Sreek. I guess he fell over. All right, next is, this was kind of interesting. Beyoncé dropped her big album without any warning. They knew an album was coming at some point, but she dropped it on iTunes and did an exclusive for like a week or whatever it was, and released the entire album and a video for every song. And Target and Amazon are not going to sell it because they're upset that it wasn't also offered through them first or at the same time. Walmart is selling it. And so Beyoncé actually, I think, went to a Walmart and I don't know what she, like, gave out gifts to or whatever, did a photo op to kind of say, you know, thank you, Walmart. And this is interesting because we've seen, there have been exclusives before. I know that, like, Cracker Barrel has some exclusive albums, and Target has had exclusive albums themselves. I think they had a Leanne Rimes exclusive album. So it's kind of hypocritical, I guess. Any thoughts on this? Is this...
Hey, if Target doesn't want the money from Beyonce's CD sales,
they're trying to set a precedent that don't do this, don't lock us out, because if you do, we're going to punish you. We're not. You're going to lose our footprint.
I don't see this as too much of a punishment. I just don't. I don't see how Target wins even in the long game.
I don't see how Target could put any significant reduction on Beyonce's album sales by doing this. Maybe Amazon, but I don't even see that happening.
Right. I mean, I think at this point, music is, I don't know, how much is music non-physical media these days?
I don't know what the numbers are, but I can't think of any scenario where I would buy music on a compact disc. Most of the kids now are on YouTube, watching it for free. And then some of them they'll use Spotify or services like that. Brad, when's the last time you bought a CD?
A long time ago, mate. I buy mine on iTunes.
Do you buy the songs, or do you use like Spotify or some subscription service, or YouTube?
Spotify, iTunes.
In the last 30 days, how many songs have you bought on iTunes?
None.
In the last 6 months, how many have you bought?
One album. There was the new Eminem one.
Okay. Michael, how do you get your music? Are you going to plead the fifth, or?
Yeah. I plead the fifth.
Yeah, he's a software developer.
That'll work.
Pam, what do you think?
99 cents a song is the going rate, right? So that's still, for a 12 song album, it's still $12 if people decide to download it legally, right? I mean, there's a plethora of YouTube to MP3 converting software. There's all kinds of ways to listen to the song you want to listen to without paying for it, legally as well as illegally. So
they're all on YouTube. Even if they don't make an official video, someone has uploaded the song with a still image or a slideshow. I mean, I don't know any song that isn't on YouTube.
Right,
and that's a lot of kids are getting it. They don't have to pay a dime.
Then you have, other services like Pandora and Slacker and iHeartRadio and things like that, where you can at least listen to the genre.
There are enough applications on Android which you can use to download high-quality YouTube videos into MP3s.
Yep.
Didn't Walmart at some point have, I don't know if it was a movie or a music download service?
They did. They
Both?
did, and when they discontinued it, all of the stuff that I bought legally
Vanished.
disappeared. Yeah. So why, if I didn't put it on, if I didn't then put it on a CD, then, I'm screwed. So
I love
it doesn't
DRM.
really, it doesn't pay to keep my songs on my computer. I have to figure out a way to either purchase the song and then convert it to a CD or put it on a flash drive or something to break that DRM, because otherwise I lose out. I've paid for the song, but I can't keep it. What kind of crap is that? I didn't borrow the song.
Rebecca says CDs are still quite popular due to a lot of people not being able to afford an iPod, and they use it while they're driving. Sreek in India, what's the deal? Are they buying CDs? How are people getting music?
It's been a long time I've been to India, but I can tell you this: as an Indian, I never buy music anymore. It's ridiculous. Why would you buy music, right? As you said, everything you want to ever hear is on YouTube, and you can you can easily create a playlist on YouTube, and then you can either stream it to your through your Chromecast to your TV and the surround sound system, or you can actually have it play on your car stereo. There are ways. If anything is ever available on YouTube or even Pandora, Spotify, whatever it is, if you can create a station, the real question is, in Pandora and Spotify and all, you're relying on stations where you can't control which song you want to play, right? As opposed to in a playlist or next song you want to pick, when you own the music, it's a big difference. For me, I don't really care. I listen to Sirius XM when I drive my car, so it's all good.
I mean, first of all, on Spotify, you can control the songs that you listen to and the order that you listen to them in. But there's a lot of people that want the physical copies of those CDs.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, there's
I agree.
demographics that want the vinyl, copies of that music. So, I mean,
Yeah, but
it all depends on how
vinyl
you
is on the
use
upswing.
it all
Vinyl is
depends
getting
on-
more popular. I had to dig around, and the best numbers I could find so far are actually from the beginning of 2013, which gives a breakdown in total album sales. Digital services, such as iTunes, Amazon MP3, accounted for 37% of all sales. Walmart, Target, other mass merchants accounted for 29%. Best Buy and similar chains, I assume other big box stores that rip you off, I don't know. 15%. What they call non-traditional outlets, i.e. Amazon physical sales, mail order, venue, I assume that's like mostly Amazon, 10%, and indie stores 7%.
So Amazon's selling a lot of physical stuff, actually.
Well, 10%, that's not a lot.
Well, I mean, it is when Walmart and all the other big box stores are selling 29%. You said, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a third of what the big box stores are selling altogether.
These are the numbers from the beginning of 2013. Now, I did find something else. Nope, that was the same story. I didn't want to click on that one again. I did find something else from the middle, from June, that basically said digital album sales are up 6% over the previous year, comprising 43% of overall full-length sales. This also said that LP sales were up 33%, which is kind of interesting, and CD sales overall had dropped 14%. So they're not the same numbers that we're talking here, but I think they are showing that Target and Walmart are rapidly losing influence, and even Amazon's physical sales are rapidly losing influence.
You can see it. I mean, I remember going to Costco, and they had a whole aisle that was like CD. It was, I think, movies at one end, and some music video DVDs, and then there was a bunch of CDs, and then a bunch of books. It was a big, wide, whole big section, and it's slowly whittled down to now there's just like a little section of
is
the
this
books.
is this Costco week? What?
No, I mean,
I still want a damn hot dog. I can't get it on my head.
It's absolutely, he's absolutely right. I mean, I hadn't been into Costco in about 6 months or whatever, because my husband doesn't want me to go with him when he goes. And
Why?
because when he goes by himself, it's $100. When I go with him, it's $450.
Fair, yeah.
All right. So anyway, the book and the CDs and themselves section is almost non-existent, completely non-existent, and the book section is, I would say, 25% of what it used to be. And even the video games and the movies are much smaller. They've almost gotten rid of that whole media section. So I think digital is Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu Plus, Vudu. Those are just the streaming things, right? Not to mention iTunes, again, Amazon, and then all of the things like Spotify and stuff like that are taking the market share.
This is a good example of the digital divide, Alan. Don't you think?
I think so, and I think actually it's an interesting. It's worth pointing out that what we've talked about are overall sales across all demographics. We haven't looked at numbers specific to an age group, and if I don't know what the age group that is interested in her songs really like, but I'm guessing, and I'm purely guessing, that age group is probably much more heavily skewed towards online delivery of her music rather than going into Target or Walmart and getting her music. Just a guess.
Sounds like the younger people probably, more online. Those online people and those, in-store people are probably a little bit older. I don't know.
And that's just a guess, but it wouldn't surprise me. And it really wouldn't surprise me if the distributor or if the artist looked at that and said, "Hey, why would I bother dealing with Target? I don't care. I really don't." And it doesn't surprise me that they just wouldn't care.
It was exclusive on iTunes, and it was the #1 album. I think it was the #1 two-day debut in history, and it was only from one outlet. I mean, it's shattered records, right? Of course, it's Beyoncé, right? But it was amazing. And just so folks don't think that we're sponsored by Costco or something, I will give a plug because I was really good. I exercised yesterday and today. I ate lots of fruit and stuff. And I'm seriously thinking about popping one of these in the oven after the show from Target. Spinach and goat cheese pizza.
Product placement.
Not available on iTunes.
Product placement that we don't get paid for.
I know. But I'll be eating it, and you can't have any.
And that's his favorite pizza, by the way.
That's the only reason I go to Target.
There was this huge post he did on pizza. I didn't even know he knew so much about pizza, but obviously he does.
Okay. So are we good on this? We're good. Okay, next up. This one, I read this whole thing, and I've forgotten some of the detail. It's a long piece. But this is the story of Spamford Wallace, who got a letter from Hormel, upset that he had registered the domain Spamford.com in 1997. Hormel complained. Basically, this is like an unreachable, unstoppable spammer. And it's a fascinating story. This is from Ars Technica, which is a great site. They do a lot of in-depth stuff. But basically, this guy, he was sending out a bunch of spam messages. And he keeps, I think he's had like billion-dollar judgments against him, but he didn't have any money. And so he got out of it. And then he was sued by MySpace, and then he was sued by Facebook because what he would set up things where you click on something, then he'd figure out your friends of friends, and then it would seem like a message from them or something like that. So he found some kind of loophole. And they're basically, the feds are like, begging him to stop. Alan, did you get a chance to check this out, or I don't know if you Has anyone read the whole thing? Because I can't skim it while I'm talking. And I read the whole thing like a couple days ago, but it was just really an amazing story. And now I think he's a DJ at a nightclub. But it's just, you know, we all hate spam, the unsolicited solicitation mail, not the wonderful luncheon meat, which is great in stir fry. But anyway, I linked to it. Nobody cares, I guess. So read the article if you're interested in this. Obviously, none of my panel's interested in this. Okay, so then next is Amazon. I just saw this funny tweet, and it points to Amazon's release about sales figures for the holiday shopping season. It said Amazon finds new ways to say nothing with ridiculous list of non-statistics about its holiday shopping season. I just thought that was witty. So I'm looking here at, and it is kind of interesting, some numbers here. Amazon, let me see if I can make it any bigger. More than 1 million customers became new Prime members in the third week of December. I think, Pam, you just recently became a Prime member, right? Yeah, she did. She's nodding.
It's
or
totally
nodding
worth it.
off.
Totally worth it.
And then the Mayday response time on Kindle Fire HDX was just 9 seconds on average, better than the 15-second response goal. The Kindle and Amazon Digital Cyber Monday was the best ever for Kindle Fire and Kindle e-readers. Of course, they don't tell you any numbers, right? Amazon beat its goal for the Mayday button response time. Digital media selection grew to more than 27 million movies, TV shows, songs, audiobooks, games, apps. Prime Video increased from 33,000 to more than 40,000 movies and TV episodes. Amazon Instant now includes more than 150,000 movies and TV episodes. Much of that's free, right? Prime Instant Video is the exclusive online subscription home for hundreds of blah, 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 Downton Abbey. Alpha House and betas can also be found exclusively on Prime. Of course, that's their original series. And then, okay, shipping. Amazon shipped 185 countries, to 185 countries. The last Prime one-day shipping order that was delivered was placed December 23rd at 10:22 p.m. Pacific and shipped to Carlsbad, California. It was delivered. It was a Beautyrest cotton top mattress pad.
Well, there's a long shipment for you.
Indeed. Yeah, I was like, I think it's right across the street, Joe. Amazon shipped enough items with Prime to deliver at least one gift to every household in America. Amazon had to limit new Prime membership signups during peak periods to ensure service to current members not impacted by the surge in new membership. So anyway, and then a bunch of statistics. It's kind of interesting. But it is funny, that tweet. You know, it's a bunch of non-statistics. It's just, you know, we did even more than last year. I mean, it's impressive, the growth. They've been growing, like I said, between 27 and 40% since 06 or 07, whenever we started that chart. I don't think they're making any profit, though.
I was going to say, are they even profitable yet?
No, he has a long-term strategy.
How's he going to do? Start running ads on his stuff or what?
I think he's hungry and he's worried that someone's going to figure out his game and there's going to be someone to disrupt him. And so he's going to try to build out and become the incumbent as quickly and rapidly as possible and then ride the gravy train at the end, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but there is no gravy train. If the shipping costs are negating any profit, then maybe he's going to start his own shipping company.
It's like Google Plus Week. We lose money every episode, so we're going for volume. If we do a bunch of episodes,
then we can more efficiently lose money.
Exactly. We're getting better at it. I don't know.
Next topic.
All right. All right. This is just two fun topics. One, a judge has ruled.
We really need to talk about your definition of fun, Dan.
Well, if you're into fan fiction, and this is a precursor to the big deal, which would be Disney, when some of those things go to public domain. But apparently there was a lawsuit with the estate of Sherlock Holmes, and they were charging for rights. And some guy said, no, we shouldn't have to pay if we're using the character because pre-1923, which would be 90 years. So I don't know. It's like so many years after the death.
Okay. Without getting into some of the details, the issue here is that portions of the Sherlock Holmes stories are out of copyright, and portions of them are still in copyright. So the question that was before the court was, does this mean that anything you write about Sherlock Holmes is subject to the copyright issues? And what the court said was, no, as long as you stick to the portions of Sherlock Holmes that were revealed before the copyright cutoff. So you can talk about, you can refer to portions of Sherlock Holmes' early history. You can talk about how he, was, well, I don't want to give any spoilers away for you poor souls who have never read Sherlock Holmes. So you can talk about his encounters with Moriarty at the Falls.
It's a book? I thought it was just a movie.
Oh my God! You're like those kids when the anniversary of the Titanic.
She's trolling us, Dan.
Oh
That was just
no!
a TV show.
Remember when the anniversary of the Titanic happened and the young people were on Twitter like, "Oh my God, I didn't know it was real." So the issue with the family was the estate was saying that it was, you have to take in the whole picture, and when the whole picture, it's all developing character. It'd be like at some point the first Harry Potter book is going to reach public domain, and that would be like the J.K. Rowling estate. Excuse me, the J.K. Rowling estate saying, well, no, the story wasn't completed until book 7, and the judge saying no. I mean, it's so the Sherlock Holmes character and any aspects of the character pre-1923 are public domain. Anything after that, they can sue you. That's
right, and there are significant parts of the Sherlock Holmes story that are still covered by copyright that fan fiction writers can't touch. So it's not a clear cut issue here.
I think that definitely that the idea that everything. I mean, if you start talking about places he went or characters that emerged after 23, you get in trouble, sure.
Yes.
But I think it's a clear-cut case that anything contained in those books pre-1923...
Well, the ruling is pretty straightforward on that, but now it means that you as a fan fiction author need to be careful about what you're basing your fan fiction on.
The best thing is if you were a fan fiction author who had never read any of the books, and all you knew was the funny hat, the pipe, and Dear Watson, and he was a detective.
Which is great, because then
you could read just the books that are public domain and go from there.
Dan, except for the fact that all of the things you just mentioned are actually from the movie, not from the book.
Oh, dear.
And the movies are still copyrighted.
Okay. Any other on this controversy?
Nope, next subject.
Next subject, this was just fun. Wisconsin turns to cheese to melt icy roads. So apparently, talk about clickbait. What they discovered, this is fascinating. When you put the rock salt down on a road, the vibration as it hits, it bounces, and the wind from the cars and stuff, because ice is pretty dry, about 30% of it is lost on the side of the road. It goes off the road. So they were looking for some kind of binding agent. And of course, Wisconsin makes a lot of cheese. So they figured that we would use the brine, and mozzarella and provolone work best because they're the saltiest. He said you basically don't have to do anything with it. So they're mixing the brine, which is the salt water left over with the enzymes in it after they take the cheese out. And they're mixing that with the rock salt, and so it gets a little more pasty consistency. And the city is saving, one county saved $40,000, I think, in a year on rock salt. And the best part is that the cheese manufacturer, it's a waste product, so this guy was literally paying $20,000 a year to have someone come and haul his brine away and do whatever with it. So now instead of him paying 20 grand, they're using it, recycling it, if you will, and the city's saving money in the process. So it's a win-win. The next question is, does the whole freaking town smell like cheese now after they put the cheese sauce or the water on the roads, the brine? And they said, no, not really. And they maximize at 8 gallons per ton of rock salt. So for that reason, because they don't want, like, are we going to have rodents or whatever eats cheese? You know, it's going to stink like a cheese factory. It's going to rot. You know, so if you do 8 gallons per ton of rock salt, you're good. So I think this is smart. This is like when the restaurants would have that leftover grease, and then they figured out you could do something to it and put it in a diesel engine. And then instead of paying someone to haul the grease away, now you were giving it to somebody who could recycle it and use it to operate their diesel engine. Instead of filling up landfills or whatever the hell they do. I guess they made product to feed pigs or something. Any thoughts on the Wisconsin cheese issue? We're just moving right along.
Well, that's because we're 45 minutes away from our deadline, and we've got a bunch of people that have something to say to end the show.
Okay,
it's not any better for the environment. I mean, the salt basically contaminates the environment.
And most of the earth is covered in salt water.
No, but you don't. But if you go out to your tree in your front yard and you start watering it with salt water, you'll kill it. And it kills streams, and it kills plant life, and it isn't good.
Should we use the chemicals instead?
No,
the brine is only the salt, but Pam, the brine is salt water.
The brine conserves the use of the salt, and it's better than nothing, right? But salt basically lowers the temperature that water freezes at, so ice will melt when it's covered with the salt, and that's how it works. And some counties and stuff have gone to sand, and sand doesn't do crapola.
Well, it
create a skate rink on top of the ice.
It depends on how cold and what type of snow and ice is on there. It depends on the type of weather they have.
That's true. That's true.
Sometimes we have salt, sometimes we have sand, sometimes it's a mixture.
Yeah, and if once you get down to 20, once you get down to 20 below or whatever, it doesn't really matter.
Sand doesn't do anything, and all it does is make a mess, and they have so much time to get that sand cleaned up, or they'll be fined off the road after the snow is melted. They have so much time to get the roads cleaned up.
The town is suing them, finding themselves. I mean, isn't it the government that does it?
Well, even in our city, even with the government, the cities, if they don't have the roads cleaned up with that salt, the sand off the roads.
I mean, we're getting into the nitty gritty, but I mean, different parts of the government do different parts of the road. Like, the state comes through some roads that are in the town, and the towns do other parts of the roads. So
yeah, that's the way it is. We have some state roads and we have some city roads, but if the roads are not cleaned up, because our city still cleans up the state roads in our city, and if the roads aren't cleaned, then the city could be fined.
Okay. They do things different in Utah.
Yeah, we do.
All right. Coming up Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Our Android Week. It's our program about Android. That's the name. We will be discussing the week's Android news, and one story that I definitely want to talk about Monday is Sprint. There's a story about Sprint being closer to buying T-Mobile, or at least the parent company at SoftBank, I think it is. They own Sprint, and they're thinking about buying T-Mobile and merging it, and that advanced a bit this week. And I'll be discussing my experience, and I want to gauge what other folks think about that on Monday. About the competitive nature of it, because recently I called. So I'll just tell you this brief anecdote, and then we'll start the how was your week, how was your year. I called Sprint the last time I called, and when my Note 2 was upgraded from 4.1 to 4.3 Android, and my Google Voice didn't work anymore, and so I couldn't figure it out. And I called Sprint, and the lady said you had to remove the app and reinstall it. So that worked fine. Then she said, by the way, your plan is to we have a new plan that's the exact same thing, but it's $35 a month cheaper. And I thought, I was skeptical, and she said, no. She said, we're doing this because of pricing pressure from T-Mobile. So when I hear about them merging, that gives me I'm not saying necessarily it's a bad thing. I don't know, but I don't think that pricing pressure would exist if T-Mobile didn't exist as a separate entity.
Brent, I can't remember what Dan's comments on monopolies were earlier in the show.
I mean, it depends on whether it impacts me negatively or not. I'm not for monopolies. No, I'm joking. I was being flippant. I'm not for monopolies, except for the Hasbro or whoever makes Monopoly. But I always win at the game.
Parker Brothers.
Parker Brothers. Okay, so, should we start with Sreek or?
So let me introduce this one. This is our last show of 2013.
And you couldn't have given us a little bit of notice? Like, I only found out 5 minutes ago that I have to summarize the freaking year. What the hell?
Pam, I actually wrote this into the show notes
at
earlier this
1:30 p.m.
afternoon.
Eastern time.
I was at work today.
And we noticed that Sreek quits, Justin.
It was about 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. It was put in there, Pam.
But here's the thing.
That was so many
I'm not
years
going
ago,
to
though.
summarize my year.
You don't need to summarize your year. But, we've got a year behind us. Say whatever you want about the past week, the past hour, the past year, the past whatever. And as always, I encourage our viewers to share their thoughts about the past end period of time as well.
I'm on it.
So we'll start with Sreek, who we thought bailed out on us so he would avoid saying anything. But Sreek, how was your Google Plus year?
Can you guys hear me? Well,
there you go.
It is.
Drunk Sreek is fun.
I'm sorry, I just had a few drinks, So, and I didn't realize that this is going to be the last Google Plus week for the year. But I don't know. Maybe I attended 50% of all the weekly shows, but. I think the most remarkable thing I would remember is Google Plus changing into a Pinterest kind of a UI, and I actually liked it. And then I don't know. I started getting a lot of followers. I have absolutely no idea why, and I'm actually glad that I get more interaction than Dan gets, because Dan probably post mostly political stuff and I post mostly fun stuff. But that's great, right? I mean, I don't have half as, maybe 1/3 as many followers as Dan does. But my interaction is high. But anyway, so
Sreek, I've got a question for you. If you did know this was the last show of the year, would you be drinking less or more?
I actually would have drunk more, right? I mean, but I think I had to stop because my wife forced me to stop. But I didn't realize, to be very honest, I didn't realize it's going to be the last show of the year. But it's awesome, right? To be here and all of a sudden realizing that, oh, it's just a few more days for the year.
Wait. You make more money than most of us combined.
I don't think
right?
so. That is a part.
And you don't understand that December 27th is close to the end of the year?
Pam, let me tell you this. That's a false propaganda that Dan tries to, whatever. But I don't make more money than most of you guys combined. I don't.
Pam, I think that more says something about people who work on Wall Street than...
They had no sense of time, right? Yeah. Who cares on the end of the year?
Let me demystify this a little bit. There are and Alan, you know this pretty well than me. There are a lot of people on Wall Street that makes a filth. I don't know what's the right word. They make a lot of money, unimaginable to common people like you and me. But there are a lot of people on Wall Street like you and me who has a regular job, who goes.
The best way I can summarize it is to remind people that Sreek lives in New Jersey.
Absolutely. I thank you for that, Alan. I live in New Jersey. I can't afford to live in Manhattan. And actually, this is a very important point. A lot of people think that if you work on Wall Street, you are a multimillionaire or something. You're not. There are 90% of all people who work on Wall Street is absolutely similar to any other person working for any other company across across the US or anywhere in the world with a family, making a decent amount of money, etc. The 1% you think about is actually a very, 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 very small crowd in Wall Street itself. Thank you. My Google Plus year was really good. That's it.
Sheila, how was your Google Plus year?
Great, just great. It's my year has been fantastic. As I've gained, most of it is with photography, but I've made a lot of friends in this venue, and even in the tech world, and I'm really grateful for the Google Plus week and able to just come in here and chat with you guys and chat with your viewers, and it's been a lot of fun. But I am going to put in a plug for what I started a community this week called the Weekly Photo Challenge, and it's public, and it has a cute little yellow, what my friend calls a Jimmy Durante nose, so it's not hard to find. But it has, you post, we have a weekly theme, and you post to that for that week what your photo is. Like this week was 'Tis the Season. It could be whatever fits in that genre for you. So, kind of cool.
So that sounds exciting. And the name of the community again is?
Weekly Photo Challenge.
Weekly Photo Challenge. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations and good luck with the community.
Thank you. It's starting to grow. And I just started it last night.
Excellent. Pam, speaking of communities, how was your Google Plus year? Unmute yourself, Pam.
I did.
There you go.
My Google Plus year was really good. I mounted a campaign against the spammy circle shares that people have decided to participate in, and I think that is probably like Google Plus related. That's probably my number one pet peeve right now, is that practice of, you have to, if you want to be included, you have to share publicly and, sacrifice a goat on the full moon and, do all this stuff, and I find that whole practice to be just not the way that I think Google meant for circle shares. It's like gaming the system, and so I think that was, if I had to say one thing about my Google Plus year, that's it. That, and I got to actually visit Google on my birthday. That was awesome. But other than that, it's been a wild ride, just like last year and just like the year before that, and I look forward to the next year.
Okay. Sorry, I got distracted by a viewer comment that's trying to send to me. Michael, how was your Google Plus week? Year, month, decade, century, whatever.
My Google Plus year was unreal because, I got to become a top contributor. I got to tour.
Why don't you remind us again what a top contributor for Google Plus means?
Okay, a top contributor for Google Plus basically is a user that helps other users on the platform answer questions, gets to, I guess, be in between to Google employees and people that work on the product and the regular users that are having issues. That's basically what a top contributor is for Google Plus. I got to tour Google campuses. I got to meet a lot of people from the Google Plus team, the Google Plus Photos teams in person. I got to see, what really goes on in other places that is like just unreal to like see it in like real life. I also got to meet like some people on Google Plus in person on the West Coast, which was unreal as well. I mean, it's just been a real like full circle. I mean, participating in Google Plus Week has been definitely fun. Having rants with Craig and Alan and Ham and all you guys, and Dan goes on his spiels and Alan with his hands and everything. I mean, it's just year after year. It's just amazing time, and I just enjoy it all. And that's why I'm on Google Plus.
Thank you, Michael. It's great to have you. And Brad, I won't forget you. You were up next. So how was your Google Plus year, Brad?
This show. I love this show. This is a cool show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony, how was your Google Plus year?
Honestly, I've been using Google Plus a lot less and less. I don't even know if it's an issue. I would say it's not an issue of the platform as much as just the way that the people I interact with are dispersed. So that's that. I did get one of those Chromecasts a couple of weeks ago, and I'm actually a little bit more excited about the future of the device more than maybe the current existence of it.
Wait, isn't that like Craig says, it's not a doorstop?
What?
Isn't that like Craig says, it's not a doorstop? It's not dead on arrival? What?
Well, it kind of is a doorstop right now. I mean, as far as what it can and can't do, my PlayStation can basically do everything that the Chromecast can do. I'm more, like I said, I'm more excited about the potential future of the device than what it can do right now. It's unfortunate because my TV actually doesn't have a USB plug on the back of it, so I have to. It's a convoluted. But, what?
You mean USB or HDMI?
I meant for the power it. To power it.
Wait a second. PlayStation cannot do everything that your Chromecast can do. Just making a statement.
What?
I'm saying PlayStation cannot do. I have a PlayStation 3 here. Cannot do everything the Chromecast can do.
Yep. You got Vivo and Revision 3 and all this other stuff too. Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. Let me clarify. The Chromecast, my PlayStation can do everything I want the Chromecast. That I use the Chromecast for. So I mean, it's all the same to me, I guess.
That is a very, very good point. Yes.
But I'm more excited for like when, hopefully in the future, I'll be able to stream my content from the computer as opposed to specific apps like Netflix and Hulu's and so on and so forth.
See, I think that's the least interesting aspect of Chromecast, is being able to stream something from your own machine. So what? Running apps on the Chromecast itself, that's the cool part.
And you can do that now from your own machine using something called Plex, but just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think at $35 to have a device that is wireless, you don't have to run a code from the computer, which can be questionable sometimes to the TV, to getting resolutions, playing nice and everything. And I'm glad that my video is off because my hands are flying all over the place right now. I don't know. Like I said, it's just I guess my use case is maybe different than some other people's.
No, okay. Dan, before we've got a bunch of comments that I want to get to, but I've sent you a few messages and I shared a video with you. So
okay.
Get that video queued up, and we'll play that in a couple of minutes. So for some of your comments, Cadeus says it's the last Google Plus week of the year, and Craig Shipp isn't here to tell us how much the cable companies circling the drains made him have a great Google Plus year. Yeah, unfortunately, Craig couldn't be with us tonight, but we know he's here in spirit, and And we've tried to play the part of a troll as best we could, but nobody does it the same way Craig does. So we promise you we will have more of Craig next year. So fear not. Kadeus also asks, he saw on Fox News that Dan is going to get a new intro and theme song for Google Plus Week, and he wants to know if this is true, Dan.
You just put you on the spot.
Can you confirm or deny anything?
I can't confirm or deny anything, and I'm gonna kick Hannity's butt.
And are we ready with the video, Dan?
Yes. Now,
okay. We have this lead in from Kevin Bryan to the panel. Summarize your year in a video using pictures and video uploaded to Google Plus.
Been there, done that.
Instead, I'm going to have Dan play this.
Well, there's a problem. If I play it, none of us will hear it.
None of us will hear it, but the audience will. Just tell us when it's over.
Okay, sure.
Hold on a second. Where's the YouTube video link for us? I want to actually go to the YouTube link and hear it myself.
Yeah, hang on.
So I'll play it and then you'll
hear it
summarize.
in like 30 seconds, though.
You can share it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm going to share the chat. Go ahead. Start playing, Dan.
Okay, here we go. All right,
Wait.
so I'll do this, and we won't hear it. I'm going to mute you guys, and we'll be back in a moment.
Wait, before you share the link.
There's the link.
All right, okay.
All right, here we go.
Hey, Dan, thanks. No, I don't really, have anything to add. I'm just here in the chat room here on YouTube. I just want to, I guess one thing I could add, I mean, as much as I really hate to say this, I've been saying this week after week after week. I don't know how else to put it, but Alan is right.
Okay, I think I got the gist without the audio.
You couldn't play the audio too?
No, they heard it. I just didn't hear it.
Okay.
But the subtitles were the billboard sized.
So thanks, Rich. It is always great to have such great fans, and I do think all of everybody who watches this, we've had a massive number of comments this evening, which is really, really awesome to see such engagement on the show. That's in a lot of ways what keeps me coming back week after week is the great comments from the panel, the great comments from our audience. Even once in a while, Dan has something insightful to say. So I always appreciate that. It's been an awesome year for me. When I thought about having us talk about this, I looked back a year and I realized a year ago I didn't have Glass. I was involved in programming Google Plus, but not in too much else. And I've gotten into a lot of this in the past year. I've made a lot of good friends, both surrounding Google and otherwise. It's been a tremendous personal growth year for me, and I'm hoping to continue that going forward. But it's been an amazing year for me, and Google has been a huge part of that. Both in terms of the company and the people that I've met through it. So that's been tremendous, and I really do want to thank everybody who's been part of that. This brief one from Kevin. My Google Plus year, major use increase of Google Plus photos, YouTube comments improved. My Auto Awesome 2013 vid was ruined by photos I took to remember things not to show. Lots of entertainment from Google Plus week. Thank you very much, Kevin. We appreciate it. Dan, how was your Google Plus year?
My Google Plus year, well, we talk about a lot of stuff, not just tech and not just Google Plus on here. I'm looking back on December, I guess it was a year ago today because it's after midnight Eastern. We had Fraser Kane on the show urging people to take the 30-day Communities Challenge because Communities had just happened. And Pages happened, I think, before that. And then Pages got a lot of enhancements. But I'm just looking back. We were dissing Windows 8. I think Windows 8 sucks was a topic an hour and 25 into the show. So it was just a lot of innovation Google Plus is, I mean, the list is too long. And it seems every show there's something. And then the biggest change for this program, I guess, was YouTube Live. We switched from Hangouts on Air to YouTube Live. And I like it. And it lets me have some more control. The engagement continues to be awesome. I love it. We love the live comments. I mean, sometimes I have to turn my mic down because I'm laughing, you know, at some of these things you guys come up with. It's really funny. And, of course, Alan was right several times this year. And then if you look at the, I was looking at the top 10 stories. It's amazing. It's been, Whitney Houston died in February 2012. Trayvon Martin was killed in 2012. It seems longer than that. The
past year has been 2013, Dan, not 2012.
Oh my God. I'm totally like sober and I'm making a mistake like that. I was just thinking, so I was right. It was longer. It did seem like longer. So anyway, we got a new pope. We got the Syrian war is fizzled. It's just really been an amazing, eventful year. It's been fun to watch and fun to talk about. And a lot of stuff, you know, happened in Android on our Monday night show. But most of all, I've, you know, made even more friends and I've had more fun and I've learned more things and I've gotten to hang out with you folks here. And it's a blast every Friday. I look forward to it. And as I said, we don't make money from this. I lose money, but I gain friends and it's fun. That's why we do it. So please keep watching. Keep the comments coming. And Alan, can you give us one more rant for the road? The last rant of 2013?
I thought one was coming with communities. I sure thought one was coming with communities.
I was trying to restrain myself, but it's really amazing to think that in the past year, communities still suck eggs. It's truly remarkable that Google keeps tripping over its own freaking feet. And you want to know what's even worse? Even worse are the freaking photos. We only had 20 minutes left, but it's truly amazing. Truly amazing.
I'm going to have to tell you to get your blood pressure medicine.
I'm fine.
I knew photos was coming. I knew we could not show a whole freaking show without talking about photos. We almost made it. We almost made a whole show without talking about photos.
But we have to end the year on that note.
Of course. Of course.
And I can assure you, we will be talking about all this stuff so much more next year. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, next year we ought to talk about. Did you already talk about the updates to Picasa and the?
No, we didn't. That's for next year.
Oh yay! Okay, I'm on that one.
This program is suspended indefinitely for 7 days. Maybe we'll have Phil Robertson on. Phil Robertson will join us to kick off the next season. Hey, folks, thank you so much. Don't forget our other program, Our Android Week, which is at 9 p.m. Eastern Monday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, Monday night, Our Android Week. We talk about Android, the week's Android news. This program is every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Believe it or not, it's Alan's fault we were late tonight. That's almost never happens, but it was Alan's fault tonight.
Right.
Folks, thank you so much for watching. It's an absolute pleasure for all of us. We really enjoy it. It's a two-way street. We get to talk back and forth and about all kinds of crazy stuff. And I promise next week we will not discuss Wisconsin cheese. But to everyone watching, I hope you had a wonderful year. We really appreciate it. Until next time, have a wonderful, epic Google Plus week. Thanks.